The Resilient Dad. Practical tools for busy fathers to build calm and resilience. Read by the author, Big Midge. For Jasmine and Jackson. My daily reminder to keep showing up. Introduction. This book is a note left on the kitchen table. This book is a note left on the kitchen table because I needed something to come back to. Not a perfect book, not a big theory, just something practical I could return to when I was overloaded and starting to slip into the same loops. Overthinking at night, snapping when I was tired, carrying that heavy feeling that I should be doing better, then getting stuck in shame instead of repair. I'm not writing this from a place of having it all figured out. Some of what I share will be ideas you might disagree with, and that's fine. This is lived experience, not a lecture. These are the things I use to slow down, reset, and come back quicker when I get it wrong. If they help you too, take what works and leave what doesn't. The Resilient Dad project began on YouTube with short daily videos about mindset and motivation in midlife. This book grew from that same place, and it's built to be something you can hold, return to, and use when life feels heavy. Throughout this book, you'll see ideas that also appear on my YouTube channel. The book stands on its own, but if you want to go deeper or hear those themes in a different voice, the videos are there as an extra way in. If you're listening to the audiobook version, you'll see prompts to look out for, linking to related content. You can ignore them completely if you want. They're simply there as an extra layer, not a requirement. This book wasn't created to make money. If that had been the goal, I would have taken a very different route. The real cost of putting this together has been time, and for working dads like me, time is not just something you spend, it's something you protect. You could argue that time is money, but for me, it feels more precious than that. Time is attention, time is energy, time is care. Despite the time I've invested in writing this, I've chosen to make it available for free. Not because it has no value, but because access matters more than income here. If you're already stretched, overwhelmed, or just keeping your head above water, I don't want price to be the thing that stops you from opening it. I'd rather it gets into the hands of the dad who needs it than sit behind a barrier that feels small to some but heavy to others. There's an optional donation for anyone who wants to support the project, but there's no set amount and no expectation. And if you take the free copy, the only thing I ask in return is a small amount of your time. When you've read it, email me your honest thoughts. What helped, what didn't, what you think's missing. You can find my details and donation link in the Stay Connected section at the back of this book. If this book helps you slow down before you snap, repair instead of spiral, or feel steadier at home, then the time it took to write it was worth it. Even if it just helps one person in a small way, that's a win in my eyes. And small wins are what this whole project is built on. Big Midge, ordinary dad, still learning. Chapter 1. How to use this book without overthinking it. This book is a doorway, not the destination. Before we go any further, here's what the book is and what it's not. This is not a program. It's not a checklist, and it's not a promise that you'll never lose your patience again. It's a collection of tools I use as a working dad, especially in the periods where life feels full and my nervous system feels stretched. Some of these ideas will land instantly, some won't. A few you may disagree with, and that's fine. The goal is not agreement, the goal is usefulness. Take what works, leave what doesn't. How the book is built. Each chapter focuses on one pressure area that many dads recognise. Chapters 3 to 10 each include 3 RDHs, Resilient Dad Hacks. Chapter 2 is the foundation chapter that explains overload and why the hacks work. An RDH is a practical idea you can test in real life when pressure is high and patience is thin. Not theory, not vibes, something you can try on a normal Tuesday. To make them easy to use, each RDH follows the same layout. Once you know the layout, you can jump around the book without losing the thread. The RDH layout explained. The problem. This is the pattern as I see it. The common trap. the way pressure tends to show up. It helps you recognise yourself without shaming yourself. Analogy. This is the picture. A simple way to see the pattern quickly. Under stress, your brain does not need a long explanation. It needs a handle. A good analogy turns fog into shape. The tool steps. This is the method. Small steps you can actually do, especially on low energy days. These are not meant to be perfect, they're meant to be repeatable. One short example. This is what it looks like in real life. Not a motivational story, just a normal moment showing how the tool can work when the house is loud and your head is full. What this is not saying. This section exists because dads are smart, and pressure makes the mind twist things. Here I clarify what the tool isn't, so it does not become toxic positivity, self-blame, or another impossible standard. The tiny move. This is the smallest action that proves the idea is real. It's deliberately small, not because you're weak, but because small moves are what you will still do when life is heavy. Why I use analogies, briefly. I use analogies for one reason: access. Most dads don't struggle because they lack information. They struggle because they cannot access the right information in the moment they need it. When stress is high, your brain wants short, clear visual cues. Analogies also reduce shame. A lot of dads blame character for what is actually a load issue. I'm failing becomes I'm overloaded. I'm a bad dad becomes I need a better system for this moment. That shift matters because shame keeps you stuck and clarity helps you move. No analogy in this book is meant to be perfect. It's a spotlight, not the whole truth. If a picture helps you notice a pattern and take a better next step, it's done its job. How to use this without overthinking it. Read in order if you want, but you don't have to. If a chapter feels familiar, start there. Familiar usually means pressure is leaking there. Pick one RDH and practice it for a week. Not perfectly, just enough that it becomes available when you're tired. When in doubt, do the tiny move. Tiny moves are how you rebuild trust in yourself. Because when you're tired and stressed, you don't rise to the level of your intentions, you drop to the level of your systems. Now we start where most dads actually are. Not broken, just carrying too much. Chapter 2. You're not broken, you're overloaded. This chapter is a pressure gauge, not a diagnosis. Pressure always shows up somewhere. It rarely arrives with a clear warning. It leaks. It leaks into patience, thoughts, energy, motivation, emotions, and identity. The leak point is different for everyone, but the mechanism underneath is often the same. Load builds, recovery drops, and your system starts compensating. Most dads do not notice this early. They notice it when it's already spilled into the house. You hold it together all day, then it comes out at home. You stay calm at work, solve problems, keep your tone steady, then something small happens in the kitchen and you snap. Afterwards you feel guilty because that reaction does not match the dad you want to be. For some, the first sign is not anger. It is a mind that will not stand down. Your body's done, but your thoughts stay on duty. You rerun conversations, plan tomorrow, replay old mistakes, and try to think your way to safety. Then, the next day starts before you've recovered. For others, it's the slow grind of pushing past empty. You ignore the warning signs, tell yourself you'll rest later, then later arrives and you either crash or become irritable, numb, or short-fused. Sometimes it shows up as getting stuck. You know what you should do, you care, you have intentions, but you cannot start, not because you're lazy, because your system is already carrying too much. And sometimes overload turns you into a referee instead of a dad. The evening becomes managing behaviour, managing tone, managing everything, and everyone ends up tense. These are not labels, these are signals. They are common ways overload shows up in real life. The hardest part is that it feels private. When you're stuck in these patterns, it can feel like everyone else has it handled and you are the only one struggling. That's how shame grows. Shame tells you this is who you are, not what you're carrying. But most dads are carrying more than they'd admit. Work demands, family logistics, finances, sleep debt, relationship strain, health worries, and the constant background noise of modern life. Many are also carrying all the stuff they've never processed properly. And when you pile that onto one nervous system, something will leak somewhere. The leak point is not your identity. It's the place pressure finds easiest access. Two dads can carry similar pressure and show it differently. One becomes snappy, another becomes withdrawn. One overthinks, another goes numb. Different outputs, same basic reality. Underload your nervous system will protect you in clumsy ways. It's not trying to ruin your life, it's trying to keep you functioning, even if the method is messy. That's why the instinct to just try harder often fails. Be more patient, be more disciplined, be more switched on. On a good day, that might work for a while. Under real pressure, it rarely holds. Willpower is a battery. You can use it, but you cannot live on it. Systems are what remain when willpower runs out. A system is not a complicated plan. It's a repeatable way of doing something when you're tired. It's the difference between hoping you'll react well and having a small step that helps you react better. It's the difference between intention and access. That is why this book is built around RDHs. Each hack gives you a handle that you can grab quickly and a tiny move that you can make even on a normal Tuesday when the house is loud and your head is full. You don't need to use every hack. You don't need to read every chapter. You just need a few systems that reduce pressure in the places it shows up most for you. You're not broken, you're overloaded. And that's good news because overloaded can be adjusted. We start with the first place pressure usually hijacks, focus. Chapter 3. Where your focus goes. Where you stare at grows. When you feel overloaded, your mind does not just react to what is happening. It reacts to what it keeps returning to. You can have a full life and still feel like something's missing because your attention keeps landing on the same gaps. The work that's not finished, the money that doesn't stretch, the body that doesn't look the way you want, the patience you'd wish came more easily. A single worry can become the lens you view everything through. This is not because you're weak, ungrateful, or doing it wrong. Under pressure, the brain becomes a problem finder. It scans for risks, unfinished tasks, and anything that might trip you up. That protective function is useful in the right moments. The trouble starts when it becomes your default setting. If your attention lives on what's wrong, your nervous system stays switched on even when nothing is urgently wrong in front of you. Focus is powerful because it quietly decides what your days feel like. If your focus lives on gaps, life feels lacking. If your focus lives on comparison, life feels behind. If your focus lives on future fixes, the present becomes a waiting room. This chapter is not here to tell you to think positively. It's here to help you aim your attention with a bit more accuracy. Not to deny difficulty, but to reduce unnecessary internal pressure. When pressure drops inside, you have more room to respond well outside. The 3 resilient dad hacks in this chapter work like a sequence. First, the donut mindset helps you stop turning one missing piece into the whole story, so you can stand on what is already solid. Second, hidden metrics gives you a fairer scoreboard so your effort counts even while results take time. Third, shrink the win makes the next small step enough to repeat, so you build momentum without needing motivation. These are simple tools, but simple is the point. When you're tired, stressed and stretched, you don't need perfect theory. You need a handle you can grab in the moment you're about to spiral. We start with the most common trap of all. The moment your mind decides the whole is the story. RDH 1. The donut mindset. The problem. Most dads don't feel pressure because life is empty. They feel pressure because their attention keeps landing on what's missing. One gap becomes the headline and suddenly everything is filtered through it. A plan that's not working, a number in the bank account you don't like, a thought that says I should be further along by now. When you stare at the gap long enough, your body starts to behave as if the whole situation is unsafe, even when plenty is still working. Your brain is built to spot problems. It's like a smoke alarm, brilliant at detecting danger, not so brilliant at telling you when the toast is fine. Under load, it can go off too easily, and that doesn't mean you're broken, it means your attention has become a little hijacked. The cost shows up fast at home, you become impatient, not because you don't care, but because you're carrying the whole like proof that you're failing. You start reacting to the meaning your mind has attached to the gap, not the reality in front of you. Analogy. Picture a donut in your hand. The sweet stuff is everything that's already real and supportive in your life. The whole is what's missing, uncertain or unfinished. Under stress, the brain zooms in on the whole, because wholes look like problems. If you stare at the whole long enough, it starts to feel like you're holding nothing. But you're not. You're holding the whole donut. The whole is a part of it, not the definition of it. Think of it like a camera zoom. Stress tightens the frame until the whole fills your view. This hack is simply a way to widen the lens again. The tool steps. Step 1. Name the whole. Ask yourself, what am I obsessing over right now? Money, time, my body, my patience, a relationship, a mistake? Keep it to one sentence. Naming it pulls it out of the fog and stops it running the show from the background. Step 2. Name the donut. List 3 real things that are already there. Not slogans, facts. A roof, food in the house, a safe bed for the kids, a friend who checks in, a job that pays something, a body that still moves. This is not about being cheerful, it's about being accurate. When you remember what is solid, your nervous system stops acting like the floor is gone. If you get stuck, use this prompt. What is stable even if I feel wobbly? Step 3. Take the next bite. Ask what's the next small move I can take from steadiness, not panic. A walk, an early night, one apology, one message you've been avoiding, one practical task that reduces tomorrow's pressure. You're not fixing your whole life, you're taking one bite that proves you can move. Step 4. Repeat at the right moments. Pick a cue you already have, like the kettle boiling or the car door closing. Do the whole, donut, bite check-in for 30 seconds. Widen the lens before your mood sets the tone in the house. One short example. You get home and you see a bill on the side. Your brain goes straight to the whole and starts writing a story. I can't keep up. You pause and name it. Money stress. Then you name the donut. The kids are safe. There's food in the house and I have income coming in. Your shoulders drop. The next bite is not heroic. You open up the banking app, set a payment date and send one message you've been avoiding. The bill's still real, but the panic's gone and you have moved. What this is not saying. This is not toxic positivity and it's not telling you to ignore real problems. It's not saying you should be grateful instead of changing things. It's the focus reset that stops your brain turning one missing piece into proof that everything's broken. When your attention becomes more accurate, you can problem solve without panic, and you can show up at home without carrying the whole like a verdict. The tiny move. Today, catch the moment your mind locks onto what is missing. Say that is the whole. Then write 3 donut facts on a note in your phone. Finally, take one bite that takes less than 10 minutes. Once you stop staring at what's missing, the next question is unavoidable. What scoreboard have you been using to judge your life? RDH2. Hidden metrics. The problem. Even when you stop staring at the whole, pressure can stay high because of the scoreboard you're using. Many dads judge themselves by visible outcomes only: money, weight, productivity, promotion, the tidy house, the perfect routine. When those numbers are not moving fast, it feels like nothing counts. You can be showing up every day and still feel like you're losing simply because the scoreboard is missing most of the real game. This is especially true in midlife and in fatherhood because a lot of what matters is delayed. You're planting things that grow later. Trust with your kids, stability in the home, health that protects your future. If you only measure what shows up instantly, your brain will call the whole project a failure, even while you're doing the right work. Analogy. Imagine judging a football match using only the final score, while ignoring defence, teamwork, effort and momentum. You'd miss most of what's actually happening. You'd also misread whether the team is improving, because many wins show up first as better decisions, faster recovery and fewer unforced errors. Life works the same way. The visible score is the headline, but the hidden metrics are the parts that decide the headline later. If you ignore them, you'll either quit early or push too hard trying to force a result, then burn out. The tool steps. Step 1. Name your visible metric. Choose one visible number you've been using to judge yourself. Weight, money, output, other people's approval, just one. This is the thing your mind points at when it says, "See, you're behind." Step 2. Find the hidden metric underneath it. Ask what daily behaviour actually creates that result over time. If the visible metric is money, a hidden metric could be one less impulsive spend, one budget check, one honest conversation. If the visible metric's fitness, it could be movement, sleep, one decent meal. If the visible metric is relationship closeness, it could be one calm check-in, one repair, one moment of presence. If you're not sure, use this question. If the result is slow, what would still prove I'm heading the right way? Step 3. Write the hidden metric as something you can tick. Keep it concrete and small. Did I do 10 minutes of movement? Did I speak with a calmer tone when I felt sharp? Did I put my phone away at dinner? Did I go to bed when I said I would? You're building a scoreboard you can actually use on a messy Tuesday. Step 4. Track it for 7 days. Don't turn it into a performance review, just notice. Tick it when it happens. If you miss it, don't argue with yourself, return the next day. A fair scoreboard stabilises motivation because it gives the brain evidence that effort is working. Step 5. Celebrate what most people ignore. At the end of the week, look for one hidden win that used to go unnoticed. A faster apology, a calmer response, a night you chose to sleep over scrolling. These are the real building blocks. They deserve recognition because recognition is what makes repetition more likely. One short example. You're trying to lose weight and you weigh yourself. The scale has barely moved, so you feel flat and you start thinking, what's the point? Hidden metrics change the question. Your hidden metric becomes, did I move today? And did I eat one more meal that helped? For a week, you tick those boxes. The scale is slow, but your behaviour is changing and your confidence returns because you're now measuring what you can control. Now apply the same to fatherhood. The visible metric might be, are the kids behaving? The hidden metric might be, did I stay calm? Did I give a clear instruction? Did I repair after I snapped? Behaviour is not always immediate. Leadership shows up in the hidden metrics first. What this is not saying. This is not lowering standards and it's not pretending results don't matter. It's not a way to talk yourself into settling. It's a way to stop ignoring the foundations that create results, especially in midlife when progress can be slower and life is full. It's a truer scoreboard, not a softer one. Hidden metrics help your effort register, so you stay in the game long enough for the visible numbers to catch up. The tiny move. Tonight, pick one visible metric you keep using to beat yourself up. Write one hidden metric underneath that you can tick in under 10 minutes. Track it for the next 7 days. Once your effort starts counting again, the next hurdle is simple. You still have to start, even when the win feels too big. RDH3. Shrink the win. The problem. A lot of dads don't fail because they do nothing. They fail because they make the win too big. They set a standard that only counts if it's perfect. If I can't do a full workout, I'll do nothing. If I can't fix the whole relationship, I'll avoid the conversation. If I can't clear the entire mess, I'll leave it. From the outside, it looks like procrastination. From the inside, it's protection. Your brain is trying to keep you away from the feeling of failing, so it quietly raises the bar until success feels unlikely. No attempt means no failure. No failure means no shame. The problem is that big wins are rare in real life, especially when you're working, parenting, and carrying a lot. So if you only count big wins, you stop collecting wins at all. And when you stop collecting wins, motivation does not just dip, it drains away, because your brain has no evidence that effort leads anywhere. Analogy. Think of a staircase. You don't climb it by jumping to the top, you climb it by taking the next step, even when that next step feels unimpressive. The mistake is believing a step only counts if it feels big. Small steps are not the destination, they're the method. Another image that helps is a jar. If you only allow yourself to add a win when it's huge, the jar stays empty most days. An empty jar feels like failure, so you stop trying. Shrinking the win lets you add something every day, and the jar that is filling up changes how you feel about yourself. The tool steps. Step 1. Shrink the win until it fits the day you're actually having. Not work out, one set. Not sort the whole house, one surface. Not fix everything with your partner, one calm sentence and one honest question. If the win feels slightly silly, you're close. The goal is a win that your tired self can still achieve. Step 2. Make the win work on a rough day. If your win only works when you're motivated, rested and in a good headspace, it's not a system, it's a mood. Choose a win that still counts when you're tired and busy. That's how you stay in the game. Step 3. Reduce the friction. Before you chase discipline, reduce the obstacles. Put the thing where you will see it. Lay the clothes out. Write the first sentence. Open the document. Fill the bottle. Friction is what turns a small task into a big fight. Step 4. Protect the chain. The minimum is not there to limit you. It's there to keep the chain alive. Most days, once you start, you'll do more than the minimum anyway. The minimum matters on days you would have done nothing. One step keeps the staircase climbable. Step 5. Let the win grow naturally. Shrinking the win's not staying small forever, it's lowering resistance. Repetition builds momentum. Momentum makes the bigger version possible later. You're not proving you can be intense, you're proving you can return. One short example. You plan to train after work, but the day's been heavy and you feel flat. Old you says, if I can't do it properly, it's not worth it. Shrink the win says, put your trainers on and do 5 minutes. So you do 5. The friction drops. So you do 10. You end up doing a short session. Not because you forced yourself into hero mode, but because you gave yourself a start you could actually honour. Now picture the same tool at home. You want to be more patient, but the house is noisy and you're already tired. The big win would be never raise your voice. Shrink the win becomes pause once before you respond and lower your volume by 1 level. That's a step. Steps change you. What this is not saying. This is not lowering standards or pretending small effort is the final goal. It's not an excuse to stay stuck. It's a way to build consistency without needing motivation. Consistency beats intensity, especially in midlife. Shrinking the win is how you keep your promises to yourself on the days you're not at your best, so progress becomes normal rather than occasional. It's not about doing less, it's about doing what works when life is real. The tiny move. Pick one thing you keep avoiding because the win feels too big. Shrink the win until it takes less than 5 minutes. Reduce the friction, then do it today. Tomorrow, do it again. When you can shrink the win and move again, the challenge is direction. Where is your time actually going? Chapter 3, Closing Words. This chapter was not about pretending life is easy. It was about taking some pressure off the system you're already running. The donut mindset widened the lens, so one missing piece stops taking over the whole picture. Hidden metrics give you a fairer scoreboard, so effort counts while results take time. And shrink the win made the next step small enough to repeat so you can move without waiting for motivation. None of these are dramatic. Together they change how heavy life feels because attention becomes more accurate, judgment becomes more fair, and action becomes more reachable. Pick one hack and practice it for a week. Not perfectly, just often enough that it becomes available when you're tired. And once your focus is steadier and your steps are smaller, the next question appears. Where are your days actually going? And that's where we go to next. Chapter 4. Where your time goes. Time is undefeated. Pressure often feels like it's coming from everything around you. Work demands, bills, kids, noise, the never-ending list. But a lot of the deeper pressure comes from something quieter. Time keeps moving whether you feel ready or not. That can sound heavy, and this chapter's not here to scare you. It's here to wake you up without shaming you. There's a difference between urgency and anxiety. Anxiety stays you behind. You failed. It's too late. Urgency says this matters. So choose your next move on purpose. Most dads don't need a massive reinvention. They need direction. They need to stop drifting and start steering. Not in a dramatic overnight way, but in a real life way, one day at a time. The goal here is not to add pressure. The goal is to remove the kind of pressure that comes from knowing you're avoiding the life you actually want. Drift is quiet. It looks like a bit more scrolling, a bit less sleep, one more avoided conversation, one more week of saying next week will be different. Nothing explodes, so it feels harmless. Then you look up and the weeks have gone. Your kids have changed and you feel the weight of all the moments you were half present for. The 3 resilient dad hacks in this chapter work like a sequence. First, Rocky was right, is the wake-up call. Time wins, so make the day count. Not to guilt you, but to help you notice drift before it steals more. Second, one day you'll wish you'd started. Turns that wake-up call into action. It breaks the started sooner trap by making starting small and immediate. Third, today's work builds future you is the steering wheel. One question that keeps your choices aligned after the first burst of urgency fades. If chapter 3 helps you aim your attention, this chapter helps you aim your days. We start with the truth most of us already know, but rarely sit with. Time does not negotiate. You can be busy all day and still feel like you're not building anything you care about. That's not laziness, it's misalignment. The calendar fills up, but the life you want to live stays on the edge. These tools are not about doing more, they're about doing what matters more often, even in small ways. RDH 4. Rocky was right. The problem. There's a moment that hits most dads sooner or later. You notice how fast the weeks are going. Your kids look taller, a period has changed, and you can't remember much about it. You've not fallen apart, but you've been on autopilot, and the time has been passing through your fingers. Rocky said something brutal but true. Time takes everyone out. Time is undefeated. That line can spark panic or it can spark denial. And I'm not using it for either. I'm using it as a wake-up call with a steady tone, because urgency can help. Anxiety can't. Time will not pause until work calms down or the kids are older. Life rarely becomes less full. It just changes shape. That's why this hack matters. It's not about squeezing more into your calendar. It's about choosing, Deliberately, what gets your best attention before the day decides for you. The real danger is not one bad day, it's 1,000 small days lived on default settings. Drift is rarely dramatic. It's comfort choices, avoidance choices, and autopilot choices that feel harmless in the moment. Then you look up and feel the weight of it. Analogy. The picture that helps me is leaving a car in neutral on a hill. Nothing dramatic happens in the first few seconds, but it's still rolling the wrong way. The longer you leave it, the more effort it takes to stop it and climb back up. Drift works like that. It doesn't announce itself, it just steals ground. There's another useful image here too. Think in rounds. You don't have to win the whole match today, you just need to win a round. That mindset lowers pressures and makes action possible. The tool steps. Step 1. Name the drift. Say it plainly. I've been coasting or I've been drifting. Name it without drama. Naming it turns it from fog into a fact. Step 2. Pick the round. Choose one of these 3 rounds to win today. Focus. Where my attention is going. What I'm feeding. Standards. What personal rule keeps me steady when mood is low? Or presence. Where can I be fully here for a few minutes? You're not trying to fix everything, you're choosing one round so you can steer. Step 3. Do 1 rep right now. A rep is one small action that proves you're back in the driver's seat. If you pick focus, your rep could be 10 minutes on the task you keep avoiding or clearing one small decision you've delayed. If you pick standards, your rep could be doing the boring thing that protects you later, like preparing tomorrow morning, going to bed, or saying no to one extra commitment. If you pick presence, your rep could be 10 minutes with the kids where your phone is not in your hand, or one conversation where you actually listen without multitasking. Small is fine. Real is the goal. Step 4. Close the loop tonight. Before you sleep, name the round you won. 1 sentence. This isn't journaling for the sake of it, it's evidence, and evidence trains the brain to repeat what works. 1 short example. You get home, sit down, and the phone comes out. Half an hour turns into an hour. You feel restless, then irritated, then guilty. That is drift. You name it. You choose the round, presence. You put the phone on charge in another room and spend 10 minutes on the floor with the kids, or you make a calm start to bedtime. Later, you close the loop with 1 sentence. I won presence today. The day wasn't perfect, but you were steering, and tomorrow will feel lighter because of it. What this is not saying. It's not about fear, guilt, or counting down the years. It's not a speech about doing more or living every day like a highlight reel. It's a reminder that drift is real and usually quiet, and that you can interrupt it with 1 deliberate choice. Some days your round will be tiny because life's heavy. That still counts. The point is to wake up and steer, so your days reflect what you say matters. The tiny move. Tonight, write 3 words somewhere you'll see them tomorrow. Focus, standards, presence. Tomorrow, pick 1 round and win it in the smallest way possible. Once you wake up and choose a round, the next obstacle shows up fast. The thought that says you should have started years ago. RDH 5. One day, you'll wish you started. The problem. Once you wake up to drift, a second thought often follows. It sounds like wisdom, but it behaves like a trap. I should have started years ago. That thought is heavy because it contains truth. You probably would have benefited from starting earlier, but the mind rarely uses that truth to help you. It uses it to punish you, and punishment makes you freeze. Regret can look like reflection, but most of the time it's just a loop. You replay what you didn't do, what you left too late, and what you wish you'd handled differently. The replay feels productive because it's loud. In reality, it keeps you still. The risk is that you end up paying twice, once for not starting and again for the shame that stops you starting now. Analogy. Think of a sat-nav. If you take a wrong turn, it doesn't shout at you for missing the earlier junction. It recalculates from where you are. It gives you the next instruction. That is the only useful move. Your life works the same way. You can't go back to the earlier junction. You can only take the next turn well. The tool steps. Step 1. Turn regret into one sentence. Write the regret as a clear line, then stop. I wish I'd started looking after my health earlier. I wish I'd dealt with my finances sooner. I wish I'd been more present. One line is enough. The goal is clarity, not self-attack. Step 2. Extract the value. Ask, what does this regret prove I care about? Health, stability, presence, connection, leadership. Regret is painful because it points at something that matters. When you name what matters, the shame loses some power because you're no longer arguing with yourself, you're choosing a direction. Step 3. Choose a 2-minute start. Pick the smallest action that belongs to the value. 2 minutes on a task, 2 minutes of movement, 2 minutes of clearing a surface, 2 minutes of writing the first sentence, 2 minutes of playing on the floor with the kids. 2 minutes isn't magic, it's a door. It's small enough to begin even when you feel behind. 2 minutes matters because it breaks the freeze. It proves you're not waiting for motivation, you're moving. And it keeps you honest because you can't claim you were stuck if you're taking a small step each day. Step 4. Reduce the friction. Make the start easy to access. Put the trainers by the door. Put the notebook on the table. Set the billfold where you'll see it. Open the draft on your laptop so the first screen's ready. You're not trying to become a new person, you're making the next step less annoying. Step 5. Make it repeatable. Decide when you'll do the 2 minutes again. Not as a promise of a new life, as a simple appointment you can keep. Tomorrow morning, after dinner, before you shower. Repetition is what turns a wake-up call into direction. One short example. You feel guilty about not sorting your money out sooner. You sit on the sofa and start scrolling, then you feel worse. You notice the loop. You write one line, I wish I'd faced my finances earlier. Then you extract the value. I care about security for my kids. Then you do the 2-minute start. Open the banking app and list 3 payments due this month. You stop, and that's the win. The next day you do 2 minutes again and set one payment date. The day after you cancel one subscription you forgot about. And in a week you've taken more control than you did in months of replaying that guilt. The past hasn't changed, but you have. What this is not saying. This is not pretending the past doesn't matter, and it's not telling you to ignore genuine regret. It's not a trick to make you feel better without changing anything. It's a way to stop regret becoming paralysis. You can respect what you wish you'd done and still move forward. The past is information, not a prison. Starting small is how you turn that information into a better next step. The tiny move. Pick one area where you keep thinking, I should have started earlier. Do a 2-minute start today that belongs to that value. Stop while it's still small and do it again tomorrow. Starting is the door. The next challenge is keeping direction when comfort and autopilot try to pull you back tomorrow. RDH 6. Today's work builds future you. The problem. Most people think life is shaped by big decisions. The job change, the move, the breakup, the big promise you make to yourself. Those moments matter, but most of your life is built out of smaller decisions repeated often enough that they become normal. Drift doesn't come from one terrible choice. It comes from tiny choices that feel harmless, then become a pattern. A little extra scrolling, a little less sleep, one more avoided conversation, one more impulse spend. These choices are rarely evil, they're usually comfort. The issue is that comfort has a bill, and tomorrow is the one who pays it. When you're tired, your brain will always offer the easiest option. That's not a character flaw, it's biology. This hack gives you a simple question that cuts through the noise and reconnects you with the man you're trying to be. Analogy. Borrowing from your future is like using a credit card for relief. It feels good now, then you pay later with interest. Stress, regret, low energy, and the same problems waiting again. Building your future is the boring opposite. Small deposits that reduce pressure later. Deposits aren't glamorous, but they compound. You're either building someone or borrowing from him. Future you is not a stranger. He's you with consequences. The tool steps. Step 1. Name the decision. Don't keep it vague. Vague choices are easy to dodge. Name the fork in the road clearly. Scroll or sleep. Spend or save. Avoid the chat or have it. React or pause. Step 2. Ask the question. What would tomorrow want me to do today? Not next year, tomorrow. Tomorrow's close enough to feel real. Tomorrow is the version of you who wakes up with the consequences. Step 3. Choose the 2% better option. The right choice doesn't have to be heroic. It just has to steer you. 2% better might be going to bed 20 minutes earlier. It might be sending the one message you keep putting off. It might be putting the phone down during dinner. Small adjustments change direction when they repeat. Step 4. Make it practical. If you get stuck, answer with an action, not a speech. Tomorrow wants one next step, not a full plan. Put the shoes by the door. Set one reminder. Open the document. Wash one bottle. Book one appointment. Choose movement over mental debate. Step 5. If today's already messy, ask it again. If the day's slid, don't write it off. Ask what would tomorrow want me to do now. One better choice can rescue a day that was drifting. Step 6. Close the loop. At the end of the day, name one deposit you made. That's how you build trust with yourself. Trust isn't built by big promises, it's built by small follow-through. When trust increases, the tomorrow question becomes easier to answer. One short example. It's late, you're tired, you reach for your phone. The default is another hour of scrolling, then worse sleep, then a sharper mood in the morning. Name the decision. Scroll or sleep. Ask the question. What would tomorrow want me to do today? Tomorrow wants a clearer head and a calmer tone with the kids. 2% better becomes simple. Put the phone on charge in another room and get into bed. The next day isn't perfect, but it starts different. Now use the same filter at home. You feel yourself getting sharp with the kids. Name the decision. React or pause. Ask the question. Tomorrow wants you to repair faster, because repair protects the relationship and your self-respect. 2% better might be one breath, then a calmer sentence or a simple apology if you've already snapped. That is building future you. What this is not saying, it's not a guilt tool or a way to beat yourself up for being tired or human. It's a steering wheel, not a whip. It's not about perfection or turning life into a productivity contest. You will still drift sometimes. The win is noticing sooner and correcting faster. It also doesn't deny real hardship. On heavy days, the question becomes smaller. What is the next step that helps tomorrow me? The tiny move. Pick one moment you normally do on autopilot today. Pause and ask, what would tomorrow want me to do today? Choose the 2% better option, then move. With focus and time back in your hands, the next step is building a starter system so you don't rely on mood. Chapter 4, Closing Words. This chapter was about steering, not sprinting. You don't need a new life by Monday, you need a direction you can keep choosing. Rocky was right, help you notice drift and win one round today. One day you will wish you started, turned regret into a 2-minute start. And today's work-built future you gave you a filter for the small decisions that shape your days. If you do nothing else, keep one question close. What would tomorrow want me to do today? Use it once a day. That one rep is enough to change your direction over time. Next, we build the practical structure that makes all of this easier. A starter system you can follow when motivation disappears. Chapter 5. The Starter System. Mood is weather. Systems are shelter. Chapter 4 was about urgency and direction. When you're under pressure, you can feel the pull of two extremes. Panic, where everything feels immediate and loud, or drift, where nothing feels worth starting because it will not be perfect anyway. Chapter 5 is the stabiliser. This is where you stop relying on mood, motivation, or the idea of being ready. Not because those things are bad, but because they're unreliable when you're tired, busy, and carrying a lot. If your progress depends on feeling in the zone, you'll only move forward on good weeks. Real life doesn't give many of those. A starter system is not a big routine that takes an hour and collapses first time your child wakes up early, or a work call comes in, or the washing machine floods the kitchen. A starter system is small enough to survive real life. It's built to work on a messy Tuesday, not an imaginary Monday. The 3 resilient dad hacks in this chapter work like a sequence. First, you stop waiting to feel ready. Readiness is a feeling, and feelings arrive late. The tool is to start from a smaller version while you're still unsure. Second, you stop trying to find time. You do not find time in a busy life. You make it, the same way you make space in a cupboard that's already full. The tool is to choose a few fixed anchors that protect what matters. Third, you treat the mornings like the front door of your day. Not because you need a perfect morning routine and not because you need to wake up at 5 a.m, but because the first 10 minutes tend to decide the tone of the next 10 hours. The tool is to change the start so the rest has a fighting chance. None of this is about becoming a productivity machine. It's about giving yourself structure that keeps you steady when life gets noisy. It's about building a simple track you can run on even when you don't feel like running at all. And once a starter system exists, it becomes easier to build anything else on top of it. RDH 7. Being ready is a myth. The problem. Most dads don't struggle because they lack ability. They struggle because they keep waiting for that feeling that never arrives. Ready, calm, clear, certain. The moment when you finally feel like, right, now I can start. But life rarely gives you a clean runway. You start when the kids are loud, the house is half sorted, you're tired, and your brain is already 3 conversations ahead. If you demand readiness before you begin, you'll keep postponing the very thing that would help you feel steadier. Readiness is not the start line, it's often the result. Analogy. Think about pushing a car that's stalled. You can sit in the driver's seat wishing for the engine to magically turn over, but nothing changes until something moves. The first shove is awkward, heavy. It doesn't feel smooth or confident. But once the wheels start turning, even a little, everything gets easier. Movement creates traction, and traction creates control. Your life is the same. The starter action is the shove. The tool steps. Step 1. Define the real start. Most people aim at the full version, the full workout, the full plan, the full reset. Instead, define the starter version that counts as starting. It must be small enough that you could do it on a bad day. Step 2. Shrink the first step until it's slightly laughable. That's where pride tries to interfere. Ignore it. Your first step should feel almost too easy. 2 minutes, 1 page, 1 message, 1 tidy surface, 1 glass of water. The point is not to impress yourself. The point is to begin. Step 3. Attach it to a reliable moment. Don't rely on memory. Link the starter to something that already happens. After you brush your teeth, when the kettle goes on, when you sit in the car, when you put your phone on charge. Step 4. Make the win visible. A starter system fails when the win is invisible. Track it in the simplest way. A tick on a calendar, a note on your phone, a pen mark on a card in the kitchen. You are building proof that you follow through. Step 5. Stop after the starter if you need to. This is important. If you always force yourself to do more, your brain will learn that starting equals suffering. Some days you will continue, and great, but some days you'll stop after the starter, and that still counts. You're building the habit of beginning. One short example. You want to write, but you never feel in the right headspace. So you set a starter version. Open the document and write 1 sentence. That's it. You attach it to the kettle in the evening. Kettle on, laptop open, 1 sentence. Some nights it becomes 10 minutes. Some nights it stays to 1 sentence. After 2 weeks you have a habit. After a month you have pages. Not because you became more motivated, but because you stopped waiting to feel ready. What this is not saying. This is not saying you should lower your standards, settle for less, or avoid hard work. It's not saying your goals don't matter. It's saying that big change is built from repeatable starts, not occasional heroic bursts. Starting small is not weakness, it's strategy. You're not shrinking the destination, you're shrinking the barrier to entry so you can build consistency. And consistency is what makes the bigger version possible. The tiny move. Pick one thing you've been putting off. Write the starter version on 1 line and make it 2 minutes or less. Then decide what it'll be attached to, one reliable moment you already have. Once you can start without waiting, the next challenge is protecting the space to keep going in a life that's already full. RDH 8. Busy life, make time, don't find it. The problem. A busy dad often says, I just need more time. But time doesn't appear. It doesn't arrive when work calms down or when the kids get older or when life finally stops throwing things at you. If you keep waiting for a quiet period, you will keep delaying the parts of life that make you feel like yourself. The real issue is not always lack of time, it's lack of protected time. Analogy. Imagine your house as one small cupboard and it's already jammed. You don't solve that by walking around the house hoping you'd discover an extra shelf. You solve it by making space on purpose. You decide what stays, what moves, and what goes. Time works the same way. It's not found, it's allocated. The tool steps. Step 1. Name what matters right now. Not 10 things, 1 or 2. The point is focus, not overwhelm. What is the smallest set of habits that would stabilise you in this period? Step 2. Choose 2 anchors, not a schedule. Anchors are fixed points you can hang things from. A time of the day you're already awake, a regular commute, the first coffee, the last 10 minutes before bed. Don't plan a perfect routine, choose 2 anchors that already exist. Step 3. Create a protected slot that is embarrassingly small. 15 minutes counts, 10 counts, even 5 counts if it's consistent. Your aim is not a long session, it's a repeatable slot. Start with something you can defend in a busy week. Step 4. Decide what you'll trade. This is the part most people skip. Time is made by trading. Trade a scroll, trade a second episode, trade a few minutes of aimless tidying, trade some perfection. This is not punishment, it's alignment. Step 5. Build a boundary sentence. Busy dads get pulled by other people's urgency. You need one sentence you can say without guilt. Something like, I can help in 20 minutes. I'm not free right now. Can we do this at 6? I'll reply tonight. A boundary sentence protects your time without drama. Step 6. Treat missed days as data, not failure. If the slot keeps collapsing, don't call yourself weak. Adjust the system. Move the anchor, shrink the slot, change the trade. The system is meant to serve your life, not shame you. One short example. You want to train, but evenings are chaos. So you pick 2 anchors, after school drop-off and before your first work call. You create a protected slot of 10 minutes. On paper it looks too small to matter. In real life it's doable. 10 minutes becomes a walk, a short bodyweight circuit, or a quick set of stretches. You put your trainers by the door so the decision is made already. 3 weeks later you're moving most days. Not because you found time, but because you made a slot you could protect. What this is not saying. This is not saying you should become rigid, selfish, or obsessed with productivity. It's not saying your family comes second. It's saying that a dad who has no protected space slowly runs on fumes, and that leaks into everything. Protecting a small slot is not indulgence, it's maintenance. It helps you show up with more patience, more clarity, and less resentment. You're not escaping your life, you're supporting it. The tiny move. Choose one anchor you already have tomorrow and create a 5 to 15 minute protected slot straight after it. Write down what you'll trade for it, one specific thing. When you protect time, the best place to use it is often the start of the day because the first moments set the tone for everything that follows. RDH 9. Change your mornings, change your life. The problem. Mornings are not magical. They're simply influential. The start of the day is when you're most likely to default. Phone in hand, mind racing, straight into reaction mode. And once the day begins in reaction mode, it tends to stay there. Everything feels urgent, you feel behind, and you spend the day catching up to a version of yourself that never quite arrives. A better morning does not require early alarms or a strict routine. It requires one deliberate start. Analogy. Think of a plane taking off. A small shift in direction at the beginning creates a huge change in where it would end up later. The pilot doesn't wait until halfway through the flight to decide the route. The route is set early, then adjusted if needed. Your morning is the same. A small intentional action early can change the entire day's direction. The tool steps. Step 1. Choose a first 10 that you can repeat. Not the perfect morning, the repeatable one. What can you do in 10 minutes even when life is messy? Step 2. Remove one friction point. Mornings are won or lost on friction. Put the kettle where you want it. Put the clothes ready. Put the notebook on the table. Put the phone in another room. Remove one obstacle that makes the good start harder. Step 3. Pick one stabiliser and one mover. A stabiliser calms your system. A mover creates momentum. Examples of stabilisers are water, breath, stepping outside, a short prayer, a few lines of journaling. And examples of movers are a quick walk, a shower, a tidy surface, one key task started. One of each is enough. Step 4. Decide the one thing that makes you proud by 9 a.m. This is not a long list, it's a single deposit. Something that makes you feel like you're steering. Send the message, pack the lunches, start the document, do the short walk. When you win early, you react less all day. Step 5. Keep it portable. Your morning tool should work on a workday, a weekend, and a day you're travelling. If it only works in ideal conditions, it will not survive. Build a version you can do anywhere. Step 6. Close with a cue for the rest of the day. A simple line you repeat that sets the tone. For example, one thing at a time, or small wins count, or calm is a skill. This cue becomes a thread you can return to when the day starts pulling you. One short example. You wake up and your instinct is to check your phone. Instead, your phone charges in the kitchen. You start with water, then 2 minutes at the back door for fresh air. Then you write one line in a notebook. Today I will make one deposit before breakfast. Your deposit is packing the kids' bags and setting out what they need. It takes minutes, but the tone is different. You've already led yourself, and you enter the day with less scramble and you recover faster when things go wrong. What this is not saying you need a perfect morning routine, an early alarm, or a silent house. It's not saying successful people always wake up happy and disciplined. It's saying that the first minutes of your day have outsized influence, and you can shape them without turning your life upside down. Your morning is not about performance, it's about direction. Even a small intentional start can reduce reactivity and increase steadiness for the rest of the day. The tiny move. Tonight, move one item into place for tomorrow morning that removes friction. A notebook on the table, clothes ready, phone charging outside the bedroom, trainers by the door. And once you can start your day on purpose, the next step is learning how to keep your system intact when life interrupts, because it always will. Chapter 5, Closing Words. The point of a starter system is not to turn it into a machine. It's to reduce the number of days you lose to hesitation, chaos, and mood. When you stop waiting to feel ready, protect a small pocket of time, and set a deliberate tone at the start of the day, you give yourself something rare in midlife, a repeatable way to begin. That is how change becomes normal. A starter system doesn't solve everything, but it gives you a track to return to. And once you have a track, your job is to stay on it more often than you fall off. Now that you have momentum, the next skill is protecting it from impulses and shortcuts that steal tomorrow. Chapter 6. Don't chase shortcuts. Relief that borrows from tomorrow is never free. Chapter 5 was about building a starter system, something small and repeatable that doesn't rely on mood. That matters because once you stop waiting and start showing up, you begin to feel the lift. You get moments of traction, you notice that you're calmer, and you follow through more often. You start trusting yourself again. That's when the next threat shows up. Not failure, not laziness, not lack of willpower. The threat is relief chasing. When you're tired, overloaded and carrying a lot, your brain does exactly what a protective brain is designed to do. It looks for comfort, it looks for the quick hit, it looks for the fast way to feel better, even if the cost lands later. A scroll that steals sleep, a purchase that adds pressure, a shortcut that avoids a hard conversation and quietly grows distance. A plan that promises a new life in 10 days, then collapses the first time a real week arrives. The long game is not about becoming strict. It's about learning which kinds of relief help and which ones borrow from tomorrow. The 3 resilient dad hacks in this chapter work like a sequence. First, you learn to spot the fork in the road that repeats all day long. Quick hit now or bigger reward later. The tool is not to ban comfort, but to add a pause and use a simple cue, not yet. So you stay in choice instead of impulse. Second, you stop chasing magic potions. Not only the obvious ones, but any promise that says you can skip repetition and still get change. Instead, you build a low battery mode, a minimum version that keeps you moving on hard days, and you anchor back into the boring basics that actually work. Third, you protect momentum with one rule that saves more progress than motivation ever will. Never miss twice. Missing once is life. Missing twice is drift. This is how you stop a small slip becoming a story and a story becoming a stop. If Chapter 5 built the track, Chapter 6 helps you stay on it. Not perfectly, not forever, just more often, just sooner, just enough that your life starts compounding in the right direction. RDH 10. Quick hit or bigger reward. The problem. Most of the choices that shape your life don't feel dramatic. They feel small, ordinary, almost automatic. One more scroll, one more snack, one more purchase, one more avoided conversation, one more night where you tell yourself you deserve a break, and the break quietly turns into a setback. That is how shortcuts win. They don't kick the door down, they slip in through tiredness. When you're overloaded, your brain becomes a relief-seeking machine. It wants the edge taken off. It wants comfort now. And that is not a character flaw. That's a nervous system doing what nervous systems do when they've carried too much for too long. The problem is not wanting relief. The problem is the kind of relief you reach for. Quick hit relief usually borrows from tomorrow. It feels like a reward in the moment, then shows up later as less sleep, less patience, less money, less energy, less self-respect. This RDH is about one simple fork in the road that repeats all day long. Quick hit now or bigger reward later. Analogy. You remember the marshmallow test? A child sits in front of one marshmallow and gets a choice. Eat it now or wait and get two. That is life. Most of your days are not one big decision. They're dozens of marshmallow moments. Not sweets on a table, but comfort on offer. The easy option, the quick win, the shortcut, the instant distraction. The point is not to become a person who never eats the marshmallow. The point is to become a person who can wait when waiting protects something that matters. Discipline is not saying no forever, it's saying not yet. The tool steps. Step 1. Name the marshmallow. Say it plainly. What is the quick hit you want right now? Don't dress it up as self-care if it's really avoidance. Step 2. Name the 2 marshmallows. Ask one question. If I wait, what do I get later? Better sleep, better mood, less stress, more money, more pride, a cleaner conscience, a calmer house. Step 3. Use the phrase. Say it in your head. Not yet. Not no, not never, not yet. That language matters because it keeps you in choice, not deprivation. Step 4. Add a short delay. Put 10 minutes between you and the impulse. Most urges peak fast and fade fast. A delay turns the impulse from a command into a suggestion. Step 5. Swap the relief, keep the need. If the need is relief, choose relief that doesn't steal from tomorrow. Water, a shower, 10 minutes of quiet, a short walk, stretching, music, stepping outside for fresh air. You're not removing comfort, you're choosing better comfort. Step 6. Close the loop. If you choose the bigger reward, mark it. One tick, one note, one word, because evidence builds trust. Trust makes the next fork easier. One short example. It's late. The house is finally quiet. And you feel like you've earned the phone, the scroll, the endless feed that shuts your brain off. The marshmallow is obvious. You name it. I want to numb out. Then you name the 2 marshmallows. Tomorrow morning with a clearer head, less snappy, more patient, more like the dad you respect. You say the phrase, not yet. You set a 10-minute delay and make a drink. You sit without the phone, and after 10 minutes, the urge is still there, but it's quieter. Now you can actually choose. You put the phone down and you go to bed. Not heroic, just steering. What this is not saying. This is not a rule that you must say no to every comfort or pleasure. It's not a demand to live like a monk or treat yourself as a problem that needs fixing. It's not a guilt tool. You will still choose the quick hit sometimes. The point is awareness and choice. You're learning to pause, to delay, and to protect the bigger reward when it matters. That is the long game. The tiny move. Pick one marshmallow you face most days. Write the 2 marshmallows beside it. The bigger reward you're protecting. Then practice one not yet delay this week. Just once. Once you can delay the quick hit, the next trap is the louder one. The belief that a magic potion will let you skip the boring part. RDH 11. Stop chasing magic potions. The problem. When you start building momentum, something predictable happens. Your brain gets impatient. It wants faster results. It wants a shortcut. It wants the plan that promises a new you by next week. It wants the hack that makes discipline unnecessary. Magic potions are not only powders and programs. They're any promise that says you can change without repeating the basics. They're the seductive idea that the next thing will finally make it easy. And when you're tired, that promise feels like hope. The hard truth is that intensity impresses, but consistency transforms. Your life doesn't change overnight. It changes when you keep showing up after the excitement fades. Analogy. Think about your phone on low battery. When it hits 10%, it doesn't try to run everything at full power. It drops into low battery mode so it doesn't die. Your life needs the same feature. Most dads don't quit because they're incapable. They quit because their plan only works on high energy days. And high energy days are not guaranteed. So build a low battery version that keeps you alive and in the game. The tool steps. Step 1. Expose the promise. Write the potion promise in plain words. What is it selling? Fast change, no discomfort, no repetition. If it sounds like skipping the boring part, it's probably a potion. Step 2. Choose the boring basic. Pick one basic that actually moves your life forward in this phase. Sleep, planning, movement, food, money awareness, honest conversations, boundaries. One basic is enough. Step 3. Build your low battery mode. Decide the minimum version you can do on your worst day. 10 minutes of progress, 1 page, 1 walk, 1 tidy surface, 1 message started. Small and repeatable. Step 4. Make it scheduled, not emotional. Attach low battery mode to a trigger that already exists. After you put the kettle on, after school drop-off, after work, before you brush your teeth. Feelings are weather. Your schedule is shelter. Step 5. Track it like a scoreboard. Don't argue with your mood about whether you're doing well. Track one thing. Did I show up today, yes or no? A simple scoreboard stops your brain from lying. Step 6. Use the golden rule. Never miss twice. Missing once is life. Missing twice is identity drift. The aim is not perfection. The aim is returning quickly. One short example. You decide you want to get consistent with exercise, but you keep failing because the plan in your head requires a full session and a perfect day. So you build low battery mode, 10 minutes of movement, no excuses, even if it is just a walk around the block. You attach it to a trigger, shoes on right after work. You track it with a tick on the calendar, and 1 tick equals you showed up. On Wednesday, the day goes sideways and you miss it. No spiral, no I've ruined it. You apply the rule, never miss twice. So Thursday, you do the 10 minutes. Momentum stays alive. What this is not saying. This is not saying you should never try new tools, buy resources, or learn from others. It's not saying all products are nonsense. Some are useful. This is about the belief underneath the chase. The idea that if you do not change fast, it doesn't count. The belief that keeps you restarting and quitting. The goal is to build a base that works in real life. Then add extras from a place of stability, not desperation. The tiny move. Write your low battery mode for one area of your life in a single sentence. Then write the rule under it. Never miss twice. Put both somewhere where you'll see them. Once you stop chasing portions, you're ready for the real skill, using your daily choices as deposits that build tomorrow's you. RDH 12. Never miss twice. The problem. Most dads don't lose the long game because they never start. They lose it because one miss turns into a slide, and the slide turns into a story. You miss a workout and you tell yourself you'll catch up later. Later becomes tomorrow. Tomorrow becomes next week. Or you eat badly once, feel annoyed with yourself, and then you lean into it because it already feels ruined. Or you skip the one boundary you were trying to hold, and then you stop trying because it feels pointless. The first miss is rarely the real problem. Life is busy. Kids get ill. Work runs late. You're tired. The real damage is the second miss, because the second miss teaches your brain a pattern. We quit. The never miss twice rule is how you protect momentum without needing motivation. It's how you stay in the long game when the quick hit is giving up and calling it a reset. Analogy. Think of momentum like keeping a small fire going. If you miss one night of tending it, the fire doesn't die. It just drops. But if you miss twice, it goes cold and you're back to trying to restart from scratch. Never miss twice is you tending the fire again before it goes cold. You're not proving discipline, you're preventing restart pain. The long game is not built by massive effort, it's built by stopping drift early. The tool steps. Step 1. Define what counts as a miss. Be specific. A miss is not failing at life, it's missing the habit you're practicing. Gym session, early bedtime, meal prep, phone down at dinner, 10 minutes of writing, whatever you're building right now. Step 2. Allow the first miss without drama. The first miss is data, not identity. It's the signal that your plan met real life. So no punishment, no shame speech, just a calm note, I missed once. Step 3. Trigger the rule immediately. As soon as you notice the miss, the rule activates. It's not a moral rule, it's a protection rule. The next available opportunity, you do the minimum version. Not later in the week, not when you feel better, next available opportunity. Step 4. Choose the minimum version in advance. Don't wait until the moment and try and invent a perfect comeback plan. Decide your minimum now. Training minimum could be 10 minutes, one exercise or a brisk walk. Food minimum could be one proper meal, protein plus fruit or water first. Sleep minimum could be phone out of the bedroom or lights out 20 minutes earlier. Calm minimum could be 2 minutes of breathing or a short reset in the car. Connection minimum could be 60 seconds of phone down attention or one bedtime question listened to fully. If you're depleted, switch to low battery mode. Keep the habit alive, smallest rep, same identity. Step 5. Make the second rep easy to start. Lower friction. Put the shoes by the door. Pack the bag. Set the reminder. Write the first sentence. Make the rep the path of least resistance, because the goal is return, not heroics. Step 6. Close the loop with a proof line. After you complete the minimum rep, name it. One sentence, either written or in your head. I did not miss twice. That line turns a messy week into a controlled week. It turns self-trust back on. One short example. You plan to train on Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Monday goes. Work runs late and you're done. So you miss Monday. Old pattern says, well, that's it, ruined, I'll start again next week. You use the rule. You allow the first miss without drama. Then you trigger the rule. Next available opportunity, you do the minimum. So on Tuesday, you do 10 minutes. Not the full session, just 10 minutes. One exercise, one honest set, then stop. It looks small, but it changes everything. You didn't restart your week, you protected momentum. Wednesday comes and you're far more likely to train because you never let the fire go cold. What this is not saying. This is not saying you should never rest, never miss, or push through injury, illness, or genuine burnout. It's not a rigidity rule, and it's not a punishment rule. Life will interrupt you. This is also not about turning your life into a streak game. It's about preventing drift. One miss is normal, 2 misses is a pattern. The point is to return fast with a minimum rep so your long game stays alive. The tiny move. Pick one habit you're building right now and write your minimum rep beside it. Then write one line underneath it. If I miss once, I do the minimum next time. Keep it somewhere where you'll actually see it. Chapter 6, Closing Words. This chapter was not asking you to become strict. It was asking you to become clearer about the kind of relief you reach for when you're tired. You saw the fork in the road that repeats all day long. Quick comfort now or bigger reward later. You also saw why magic potions keep you restarting. They promise a new you without repetition, then vanish the first time a real week shows up. And you added one rule that protects momentum better than motivation ever will. Never miss twice. You'll still take the quick hit sometimes, that's normal. The win is you start noticing the fork sooner, and you stop turning one miss into a slide. You protect the long game by returning fast, even on low battery days, with a minimum rep that keeps the habit alive. You're not trying to win every day, you're trying to stop paying interest on the drift. Next, we make sure a bad week doesn't turn into a bad year by learning how to treat setbacks as information and return reps, not evidence that you're failing. Chapter 7. A bad week is not a bad year. A setback is data, not a verdict. A bad week becomes a bad year in a very predictable way. It's rarely the week itself, it's what you decide the week means. When life is full, the mind looks for patterns fast. It tries to protect you by predicting the future from a small sample of pain. You miss a couple of workouts and it whispers, there you go, you always quit. You snap at the kids and it tells you you're failing at this. You fall back into a habit you thought you'd outgrown and it concludes you're back at zero. The week is messy, then the story makes it permanent. This chapter is about interrupting that chain. Setbacks are part of being a working dad. Kids get ill, work gets heavy, sleep gets broken. You carry stress into the house and your tone sharpens. You drop a routine for a few days and suddenly everything feels harder. None of that is a moral failure. It's just life colliding with your energy. The aim isn't to become a man who never slips. The aim is to become a man who returns faster. That's why the theme of this chapter matters. Progress is not mood. Mood changes by the hour. Progress is reps. Reps are the small actions that you repeat, especially when you don't feel inspired, especially when you're frustrated with yourself, especially when you're tempted to label the whole thing a waste of time. The 3 resilient dad hacks in this chapter work like a sequence. First, you'll learn how to use setbacks as fuel, which means turning a mistake into information and a next move instead of letting it become evidence that you can't change. Second, you'll learn how to stop the brain from turning a setback into identity, because the thought, I'm back at zero, is not a description, it's a trap. It erases your progress and makes quitting feel logical. And third, you'll learn what practice actually is. Not a route to perfection, but a route to steadiness. Practice is how you become the kind of dad who can hold his line under pressure and repair quickly when he does not. This is the chapter that keeps the year intact, not by hype, by return. RDH 13. How to use setbacks as fuel. The problem. A setback usually arrives in two layers. The first layer is the event, what actually happened. You missed the gym, you ate in a way that doesn't support you, you avoided a conversation, you snapped, you overspent, you stayed up too late. Those are facts. The second layer is the meaning you attach to the facts. Most dads are not taken out by the event, they're taken out by the story that follows it. The story arrives fast and it sounds convincing because it's emotional. I've ruined it. I always do this. What's the point? I'm back where I started. One stumble becomes a stop. Not because the stumble was huge, but because the story makes the next rep feel pointless. Setbacks are inevitable. Spirals are optional. The skill is learning to turn the setback into fuel, which means you use it to refine the system instead of using it to attack yourself. Analogy. Think about a sat-nav. When you take a wrong turn, it doesn't shame you. It doesn't declare the journey over. It recalculates. Calmly. Immediately. It uses the new information and offers the next best route from where you actually are. That's what a resilient system does. A setback is not a verdict. It's data. The dads who build real change are not the dads who never take wrong turns. They're the dads who recalibrate quickly, without drama, and keep moving. The tool steps. Step 1. Separate the event from the story. Write the event in one plain sentence. Keep it factual, no judgment, no identity. I missed 2 workouts. I raised my voice. I spent money I didn't plan for. This matters because facts can be solved. Stories tend to spiral. Step 2. Name the story your brain is telling. Now write the story as a second sentence. I'm failing. I cannot change. I always mess up. You're not doing this to agree with the story. You're doing it so you can see it. You can't challenge a story you haven't named. Step 3. Extract one lesson. Ask one calm question. What made this more likely? Poor sleep? Hunger? Overstimulation? Too much in the diary? No plan? Phone in bed? No transition between work mode and home mode? A missing boundary? You're not hunting for blame, you're looking for the lever. Step 4. Choose a repair action, not a punishment. Punishment increases stress, and stress increases setbacks. Repair is different. Repair is one small action that reduces the damage and restores trust. If you snapped, apologise and reset. If you overspent, make one tiny correction. If you missed training, do a short session or a walk. Repair says, I lead myself even when I slip. Step 5. Reduce friction for next time. Fix one practical thing that will help future you. Put shoes by the door. Prep a simple meal. Put the phone on charge outside the bedroom. Block 10 minutes in the diary. Set a reminder. You're building a system that can handle real life. Step 6. Return fast, even if it's tiny. Don't wait for Monday. Don't wait for the perfect day. Do one small rep within the next day. The speed of return matters more than the size of the return because returning quickly keeps identity intact. One short example. You have a rough day at work, come home overstimulated and you snap at the kids. 10 minutes later the guilt lands and the story starts building its case. You're a terrible dad. You're doing the same thing again. You separate the event from the story. The event was you raised your voice and you spoke sharply. The story, you're failing as a dad. You extract one lesson. You were hungry, tired, and went straight from work mode into family mode with no reset. Choose a repair. You apologise with ownership, not excuses. That wasn't fair. I'm sorry. I'm resetting. Then you reduce the friction. Tomorrow you take 2 minutes in the car before you walk in. One breath, one cue, calm voice. The setback becomes fuel, not proof. The moment didn't define you. The response trained you. What this is not saying. This is not saying setbacks are good, or that you should pretend that they do not hurt. It's not saying you must be positive about everything, or that you should minimise real stress. Some weeks are heavy. This is also not a free pass to repeat the same mistake without change. The point is responsibility without shame. You name what happened, learn from it, repair what you can, and return quickly. That is resilience in practice, not a motivational slogan. The tiny move. Write down your most common setback. Then write one likely trigger that leads to it, and one repair action you can do within the next day when it happens. Once you can recalibrate after a setback, the next skill is stopping your brain from turning that setback into a statement about who you are. RDH 14. I used to think every setback meant I was back at zero. The problem. There's a specific thought that wrecks progress quietly, and it sounds like this. If I slipped, I'm back at the start. That thought is brutal because it erases your reps. It deletes evidence. It makes it feel like the work never counted. And when the work feels like it never counted, quitting starts to feel like a rational decision instead of a reactive one. Most dads who struggle are not lacking effort. They're carrying an internal narrator who turns a wobble into identity. Lazy, weak, useless, not built for this. The narrator takes a moment and turns it into a label. Then you start behaving as if the label is true. A setback doesn't put you back at zero. It just shows you where the floorboards creak. Analogy. Imagine learning to drive. You stall the car. You don't return to being someone who's never sat in the seat. You still know where the pedals are. You still understand the rules. You still have hours of learning behind you. The stall is not the whole story. It's a moment inside the story. And progress works the same way. You're not reset by a single mistake. You're shaped by what you practice next and by how quickly you return when you wobble. The tool steps. Step 1. Catch the zero talk. Listen for the phrase, I'm back at zero. I've ruined it. I knew I could not do it. The language matters because language drives behaviour. Zero talk leads to quitting. Not because quitting is correct, but because quitting matches the story. Step 2. Write evidence that you are not at zero. List 3 facts that prove progress exists. Not feelings, facts. You trained last week. You've repaired faster recently. You've been more patient more often. You've saved money for months. You've learned tools you didn't have before. Evidence keeps you honest. Step 3. Replace identity with process. Swap I'm failing for I had a setback. Swap I'm useless for I'm learning. This is not fake positivity, it's accuracy. Identity is not the event. Identity is your pattern of return. Step 4. Choose the next rep. Don't create a grand comeback plan to punish yourself into change. Choose one rep that fits the day you actually have. One decent meal, one apology, one short walk, one tidy surface, one budget check, one early night. One rep is a vote for direction. Step 5. Speak to yourself like a coach, not a prosecutor. A coach is honest and helpful. A prosecutor is harsh and dramatic. Ask what happened. What can I learn? What's the next rep? The tone you use decides whether you build or spiral. Step 6. Mark the return. When you do the next rep, mark it. A tick a note, a simple record. Your brain needs proof that you return. Proof rebuilds confidence far faster than motivation. One short example. You've been eating better for weeks, then you have a messy weekend and you overdo it. Monday morning, the zero talk turns up. You're back at the start. You catch it, and instead of debating it, you write evidence. You've been consistent for weeks. You've improved your energy. You've made better choices most days. You replace identity with process. This is a setback, not a reset. Then you choose the next rep, one decent breakfast and a short walk. You mark the return. This is how you stay on track. Not by never slipping, but by refusing to make the slip your identity. What this is not saying. This is not saying you should ignore consequences or pretend things don't matter. Some setbacks create real problems that need fixing. This is also not about telling yourself stories that are not true. It's about accuracy and self-respect. A setback is a moment, not a verdict. You can acknowledge what happened without letting it rewrite who you are. The goal is honest confidence, built by returning, not by being flawless. The tiny move. Write one sentence you often say after a setback. Rewrite it as a process sentence that is true and useful, short enough to remember under pressure. And once the story is under control, the final piece is building a relationship with practice that makes returning normal, not heroic. RDH 15. Practice does not make perfect. The problem. A lot of dads quietly believe practice is for people with more time, more energy, and fewer responsibilities. Real life feels too messy for practice, so they wait for the right week, the right mood, the right conditions. But practice is not a luxury. Practice is how you become steadier inside messy conditions. The phrase practice makes perfect can sabotage you if you take it seriously. If perfect is the target, every imperfect attempt becomes proof that you're failing. Then you avoid practice, which guarantees you never build the steadiness you want. Practice does not make perfect. Practice makes familiar. Practice makes repeatable. Practice makes return easier. Analogy. Think about brushing your teeth. It doesn't make you perfect. It doesn't guarantee nothing ever goes wrong. It's simply a small, repeatable action that prevents decay. Your habits are the same. Small practices do not create a flawless life. They prevent drift. They reduce the interest you pay on chaos. They keep your baseline steadier so that when a hard week arrives, you're not starting from scratch. The tool steps. Step 1. Decide what you're practicing. Don't choose a vague goal. Choose a skill, patience, sleep routine, movement, planning, calm voice, boundary setting, repair. One skill is enough for this period. Step 2. Choose the smallest rep that still counts. Your rep must be small enough to survive real life. 2 minutes counts, 10 minutes counts, one conversation starter counts. The aim is repeatability, not intensity. Step 3. Attach the rep to something that already exists. Practice needs a hook. After you make a coffee, after school drop-off, after work, before you get into bed. When the hook already exists, practice becomes harder to forget. Step 4. Keep score simply. Don't track everything, track one thing. Did you practice today? Yes or no? Simplicity keeps you honest and it keeps you consistent. Step 5. Review without judgment. Once a week, look at your score and ask 2 calm questions. What made it easier? What made it harder? Then adjust the system, not your self-worth. Step 6. Build a return rule. When you miss, return with the smallest rep. The rule isn't to do more to make up for it. The rule is to come back quickly so the practice stays alive. One short example. You want to be calmer at home, but by the time you walk in, you're already tense. You choose the practice, a 2-minute transition. Sit in the car, 1 slow breath, 1 cue, calm voice. That is the rep. The hook is the car door closing after work. The score is a tick in your notes app. Some days you forget, but you don't scrap the plan. You return the next day with the smallest rep. And after a few weeks you notice the shift. You still get stressed, but you recover faster. And that is what practice builds. Not perfection, but steadiness. What this is not saying. This is not saying you should accept mediocrity, lower your goals, or stop improving. It's also not saying you must practice the same way forever. It is saying you don't need perfection to make progress. You need repetition. You need a small practice that fits real life and a system that helps you return when you miss. Improvement comes from reps that compound, not from rare bursts of motivation or guilt-fueled overhauls. The tiny move. Choose one skill you want to practice this week. Define the smallest rep that counts, then attach it to one daily trigger you already have. Chapter 7, Closing Words. A bad week does not ruin your progress. It only tests your return. Setbacks will keep happening because life keeps happening. The goal was never to build a life where nothing goes wrong. The goal is to build a system and a mindset that stops wrong turns becoming resignations. When you treat a setback as data, you stay in problem solving. When you refuse the back at zero story, you protect your identity. And when you practice small reps, you make returning normal, not heroic. This is what keeps the year intact. Not perfect discipline, not constant motivation, just the ability to recalibrate without drama, repair without shame, and take one small rep that puts you back in the game. Every fast return is a vote for the man you're becoming. And over time, those votes add up to something solid. Confidence is not something you wait for, it is proof you collect. Chapter 8. Overloaded Dad Calm Kit. Calm is a skill you can carry. A lot of advice for dads assumes that you have spare time, spare energy, and a quiet house. Most working dads don't. When life's full, you don't need a full reset. You need a kit. Something small, practical, and repeatable that helps you come back to yourself in the middle of real life. That is what this chapter is. Not a perfect routine, not a lifestyle overhaul, a calm kit you can reach for when you feel overloaded, snappy, wired, or mentally stuck. These tools are designed for the moments that actually catch you out. The walk from work mode into family mode. The late night spiral in bed. The aim isn't to become a calm person who never gets triggered. The aim is to recover faster, so a hard moment doesn't become a hard evening, and a hard evening doesn't become a hard week. The 3 resilient dad hacks in this chapter work like a sequence. First, we deal with overload, especially the kind that can hit neurodivergent dads hard. Most busy dads will recognise part of this, whatever your wiring. Burnout is not always dramatic. Often it's quiet, creeping, and misunderstood. It looks like irritability, shutdown, brain fog, and a fuse that suddenly feels shorter than it should. The tool here is learning your early warning signals and reducing load before you hit the wall. Second, we deal with the nighttime overthinking. That familiar moment where your body is tired, but your brain starts running meetings, replaying conversations, and predicting disasters. The tool here is simple. You stop debating thoughts, you label them, and you move your attention back to what is real. Third, we deal with perspective. When you're overloaded, your brain has a strong bias towards threat and lack. It stares at the hole in the donut and forgets there's a donut at all. The tool here is not fake positivity, it's balance. It's training your attention to see the full picture again. Use this chapter like a pocket guide. You don't mend all three at once. Pick one that matches the moment you're in and take the tiniest step that brings you back online. RDH 16. Neurodivergent Dad Burnout. The problem. This one starts with a quick clarification. I am neurodivergent. You might not be. Many dads reading this might not be. But I'm including it because overload has patterns. And even if your wiring is different, you may recognise the experience. That recognition does not mean you're neurodivergent, it means you're a human under pressure. Burnout doesn't always look like collapse. Sometimes it looks like coping until you suddenly can't. You're doing the school run, you're doing the work, doing the house, doing the trying, and then one small thing tips you over. A noise, a demand, a change of plan, a question at the wrong time. The fuse goes, and afterwards you wonder why it was so big. For me, neurodivergence can amplify that load. Not just what I do, but what I have to process. Constant switching, constant masking, constant noise, constant decisions. Over time, the system carries more than it can hold, and the body starts sending signals. Irritability, shutdown, brain fog, avoidance, sleep that doesn't restore you. But you don't need the label to relate to the pattern. A lot of dads hit the same wall for very different reasons. Too much responsibility, too little recovery, and a nervous system that's running hot all the time. The danger is treating those signals as failure and pushing harder, which only burns deeper. The alternative is treating them as data and reducing load before you hit the wall. Analogy. Think of your brain like a laptop with too many tabs open. Each tab is not just a task, it's a context. Work tab, dad tab, partner tab, money tab, house tab, social tab. Each one uses memory. You can run like that for a while, but performance drops. The fan gets loud, everything lags, then something freezes. For me, the number of tabs can feel higher and the switching can be heavier. For you, the same feeling might come from different tabs, different pressures, different times. Either way, the lesson holds. When the system is overloaded, you don't fix it with more effort. You fix it by reducing load and cooling the system. The tool steps. Step 1. Learn your early warning signals. Write your personal signs of overload, not generic ones, yours. Snappy tone, tight jaw, shutting down, brain fog, doom scrolling, feeling trapped, needing silence, forgetting simple things. Step 2. Reduce input before you reduce yourself. When the warning signs show up, lower stimulation first. Step into a quieter space, turn off a screen, lower the volume, step outside. This is not avoidance, it's regulation. Step 3. Reduce output to the minimum that protects the day. On overload days, stop trying to perform. Choose the minimum version that keeps things steady. Food, safety, one key task, a calmer tone. Everything else can wait. Step 4. Use a 2-minute body reset. Choose one reset that tells your nervous system that you're safe. Slow breathing, cold water on the wrists, a short walk, stretching, eyes closed. 2 minutes can change direction. Step 5. Use one sentence to communicate. Overload gets worse when you explain too much. Have one line ready. I'm overloaded. I need 10 minutes. I'm not ignoring you. I'm resting. I'm resetting. Short and calm. Step 6. Make one small change for tomorrow. After the moment passes, Choose one adjustment that reduces tomorrow's load. An earlier bedtime, a packed bag, a planned meal, a quieter transition after work, one fewer tab. One short example. You get home and the house is loud. 2 questions arrive at once. Someone needs help, someone is arguing, someone's hungry. You feel the warning signs, the tight jaw, the quick anger, the urge to shut down. Instead of pushing through, you name it: overload. You reduce input by stepping into the kitchen and turning off background noise you didn't notice was draining you. You say, I need 10 minutes, I'm resetting. You drink water, breathe slowly, and come back with a calmer voice. Later, you make one small change for tomorrow: lunch sorted and phone charging outside the bedroom. What this is not saying. This is not a way to diagnose yourself, and it's not a claim that if you relate to this, you must be neurodivergent. It's also not an excuse for taking your overload out on other people. The point is responsibility without shame. Noticing your warning signs sooner and reducing load earlier. If you're persistently overwhelmed or shutting down, support matters from your GP, a therapist, or someone you trust. This is a practical tool for recovery and regulation, not a replacement for help. The tiny move. Write 3 overload signals you recognise in yourself. Under them, write 1 2-minute reset you'll use next time they show up. Once your system is calmer, the next battle is often the mind, especially at night when everything goes quiet. RDH 17. If you overthink at night. The problem. Nighttime overthinking has a special flavour. During the day, you can distract yourself with tasks. At night, the world goes quiet and the mind turns the volume up. Old conversations replay. Future problems get solved in imaginary meetings. Every worry feels urgent and every thought feels like an instruction. The trap is that you try to think your way out of it. You debate the thought, argue with it, search for certainty, and accidentally feed it. The mind learns, this is important, keep going. Then you lie there wide awake, tired, frustrated, and stuck in a loop. The goal is not to stop thoughts. The goal is to stop treating thoughts like commands. Analogy. Imagine your brain is a radio. At night, the signal gets weaker and the static gets louder. The static is not a message, it's noise. If you sit there trying to decode the static, you'll stay awake forever. The wiser move is to acknowledge it, then retune your attention back to something real and steady. You don't need to win an argument with your mind at 2 a.m. You need to stop giving the static the microphone. The tool steps. Step 1. Spot the pattern. Name what's happening. This is overthinking. This is looping. This is my brain scanning for danger. Step 2. Label the thought. Don't analyse it, label it. Worry, planning, regret, what if, prediction. Labelling reduces grip. Step 3. Use the cue. In your head say, noted. Then say, moving on. Short, firm, calm. You're acknowledging without feeding. Step 4. Return to the body. Bring attention to something physical and simple. The weight of the duvet, the breath moving in and out, the feeling of your feet. Your body is the anchor when your mind is loud. Step 5. Park it with one next action. If the thought is genuinely useful, give it a parking space. Write one line. Tomorrow, do this one small action. Then close the loop. The mind relaxes when it believes it will not forget. Step 6. Repeat without drama. You may have to do this 10 times. That's fine. Each repetition is practice. The win is not silence. The win is returning. One short example. You wake at night and remember a bill, a conversation, a deadline. The worry starts building and your chest tightens. You catch the pattern and you label it, worry. You say noted, moving on. You focus on the breath for 10 slow cycles. The thought returns. You don't fight it, you write one line on a pad. Call bank at lunch. Then you repeat, noted, moving on. You return to the sensation of the pillow and the breath. Sleep comes back because you stopped debating the static. What this is not saying. This is not saying you should ignore real problems, suppress emotions, or pretend everything's fine. Some worries are valid, and some situations require action. This tool is about timing. Nighttime is rarely the moment for solving life. It's the moment for resting so you can solve life with a clearer head tomorrow. If night anxiety and insomnia are persistent and severe, getting support is wise. This is a practical technique, not a cure-all. The tiny move. Put a pen and paper by the bed. Write the cue at the top of the page. Noted, moving on. Use it once this week, the first time the spiral starts. When you can settle the nighttime loop, the next step is training your attention during the day so it stops living only on what is missing. RDH 18. Half full or half empty. The problem. When you're overloaded, you can waste a lot of energy asking the wrong question. Am I coping? Am I failing? Am I okay? Am I falling apart? Those questions feel important, but they usually push you into judgment or denial, and neither one refills you. A calmer approach is more practical. Your capacity changes hour by hour. Some days you wake up with plenty in you, some days you wake up already running low. Most days you start fine and then leak energy through noise, decision, interruptions and pressure. So the skill is not deciding what the glass means. The skill is noticing your level and topping it up before you run dry. Half full or half empty doesn't really matter. Drink it, refill it and carry on. Analogy. Imagine you're carrying a glass of water through your day. Every demand takes a sip. Every interruption spills a bit. Your starting level will vary, and that is not a moral issue, it's just reality. The mistake is debating the glass while you keep spilling it. A steadier approach is to treat your energy like something you maintain, little refills, often because the crash arrives. The tool steps. Step 1. Check your level without judgment. Ask yourself, what is my level right now? High, medium or low? This is a reading, not a score. Step 2. Name the leak. Choose the main thing draining you today. Noise, decision fatigue, hunger, rushing, too much screen time or a difficult conversation hanging over you. One leak is enough. Step 3. Choose a refill type. Pick one lane. A body refill like water, food, breath, movement, warmth, stepping outside. A mind refill like a quick note, a next step plan, a short brain dump. And an environment refill like turning noise down, changing rooms, tidying one surface or lowering stimulation. Step 4. Make it tiny and immediate. Choose something you can do in under 2 minutes. You're aiming for maintenance, not transformation. Step 5. Refill at medium. Don't wait for empty. Medium is the warning light. This is where you protect the rest of the day. Step 6. Repeat without drama. This is a loop, not a one-off fix. Effort, recovery, repeat. That's how calm builds in real life. One short example. It's mid-afternoon and work's been non-stop. You can feel yourself getting sharp. You do a quick reading and your medium sliding towards low. The leak is decision fatigue and no pause. You choose a body refill. You drink a glass of water and step outside for 1 minute. 10 slow breaths, shoulders down, and then a mind refill. You write one line, Next step only and circle it. Nothing dramatic changed, but you stopped the slide before it reached empty. What this is not saying. This is not telling you to be positive, ignore real problems, or pretend hard times are easy. It's not a claim that small refills solve everything, and it's not a diagnosis tool. Some situations need boundaries, support, and bigger changes. This is simply a practical way to stop your day being run by depletion. You notice your level, identify the leak, and make a small refill before you hit the wall. Calm comes from maintenance, not constant self-judgment. The tiny move. Choose one daily refill trigger that you already have. Every time you make a drink, take 10 slow breaths. Or every time you unlock your phone, drink water first. One tiny refill, repeated, changes your baseline. Chapter 8, Closing Words. This calm kit is not about being calm all the time. It's about giving yourself a way back when you're overloaded before it spills into the people you care about. The kit only works if it's simple enough to use in real life. That's why the moves are small. Small resets, repeated, create a steadier baseline. You'll not use these tools perfectly, you'll forget. The win is that you return sooner and you return kinder. Calm is not a personality trait. Calm is a practice you can carry. Now that you can steady yourself, the next chapter is about steadying connection, because the way you respond shapes the home that you're building. Chapter 9, Meaning Without Denial. Expectations create weight, meaning creates room. Chapter 8 was about steadiness in the moment. A calm kit you can reach for when your system's running hot, when your mind won't switch off, and when you're close to snapping or shutting down. It gave you ways to return to yourself without needing perfect conditions. This next chapter is what happens next. Because even when you calm down faster, another force still shapes your days quietly. The meaning you attach to what is happening. The language you use in your own head, the silent expectations you carry into Monday morning, the story you tell yourself about what your life should look like by now. A lot of resentment is not created by reality itself. It's created by the gap between reality and expectation. When the day doesn't match the picture in your head, frustration rises fast, even if the day is not objectively worse than any other. And a lot of heaviness is not created by the task itself, it's created by the language you wrap around the task. The job might be the same, but if your inner voice narrates it as a burden, trapped, unfair, behind, you feel the weight in your body. That matters because dads don't just live in their circumstances, they live in their interpretation of the circumstances. Two dads can have similar days and carry them very differently, because one is walking around with silent contracts and harsh language, and the other has learned how to choose meaning on purpose. The goal here is not to force gratitude like a performance, not to smile through stress, not to pretend life is easy. This is meaning without denial. It's realism with a lighter grip. You tell the truth, but you stop adding extra suffering with the story you repeat. The 3 resilient dad hacks in this chapter work like a sequence. First, a simple formula that explains a surprising amount of frustration. It helps you spot the hidden expectation underneath your mood so you can adjust, communicate, or release it instead of carrying it like a silent contract. Second, a word switch that can pull poison out of any ordinary day. You keep the same responsibilities, but you change the meaning attached to them. That shift reduces resentment without pretending the day is perfect. And then third, you'll build a small language habit that turns words into steering wheels. One word can tilt your mood towards bitterness or gratitude, heaviness or direction. The point is not to become positive, the point is to become freer, so you have more energy for the parts of life that actually matter. RDH 19, a simple formula for happiness. The problem. Most frustration is not caused by what happened. It's caused by what you thought should have happened. You expected the morning to run smoothly. You expected the handover to be easy. You expected to feel more motivated by now. You expected people to understand without you having to explain. You expected your effort to pay off quicker. Then reality turns up, messy and loud, and your mood tanks. What makes this tricky is that expectations often hide. They don't announce themselves as expectations. They show up as irritation, disappointment, pressure, resentment, and that heavy feeling of why is this so hard? You think you're reacting to the situation, but you're often reacting to the gap between the situation and the version you pictured. If you learn to spot the expectation underneath the mood, you stop suffering twice. You still have the situation, but you don't have the extra layer of emotional friction on top. This tool does not remove real problems, but it removes unnecessary weight. Analogy. Think of expectations like a sat-nav prediction. It says arriving in 5 minutes and your body relaxes. Then traffic hits. Nothing about the road's personal, nothing about the traffic is a moral judgment. But because your brain believed the promise, the gap between expected and actual creates frustration. The stress lives in the gap. That's why the same situation can feel tolerable one day and unbearable the next. The situation might be similar, but the expectation sitting underneath it is different. The tool steps. Step 1. Write the equation. Hold the simple idea in your head. Reality minus expectations equals happiness. The wording doesn't have to be perfect. The point is that the bigger the gap, the heavier you feel. Step 2. Name the reality in one sentence. Keep it factual. What is actually happening? Not what it means about you, not what it should be, just what it is. Step 3. Find the expectation under the mood. Ask, what did I expect? Often you'll find a silent contract hiding there. I expected them to behave. I expected to be further by now. I expected today to be easier. I expected to feel confident if I was trying. Step 4. Decide what kind of expectation it is. Put it into one of 3 buckets. A standard is something you aim for and are willing to work towards. A preference is something you'd like, but life might not deliver today. A demand is something you are insisting reality must do right now. Step 5. Choose your move. If it's a standard, take one action. Communicate it, plan it, practice it. If it's a preference, loosen your grip and adjust your plan. If it's a demand, check if it's realistic. If not, release it, because carrying it will only make you heavier. Step 6. Do an honest gratitude reset. Ask one grounded question. What is still good right now? Not what's perfect, what is still good. Then take one small action that matches it. One short example. You walk into the evening expecting the house to be calm. The kids are loud, the kitchen is chaos, and your patience drops fast. Reality is that it's noisy and messy and you're tired. The expectation is the handover from work mode into home mode would be smooth. You bucket the expectation and see it clearly. It's a preference, not a demand. Tonight might not be smooth, so you choose adjustment rather than anger. You take 2 minutes before you engage. Water, breath, and one simple line out loud. I need a minute to reset. Then I'm in. That tiny reset reduces the gap. The house is still busy, but you remove the extra suffering created by the silent contract. What this is not saying. This is not telling you to lower your standards, accept poor behaviour, or become passive. It's not pretending life is fine when it's hard. It's saying that unrealistic expectations create unnecessary suffering, and you can separate standards from demands. You can aim high while still accepting that today might be messy. The tool is not about settling for less. It's about choosing what you carry so you have more energy for the things you can actually change. The tiny move. Think of one thing that's annoying you today. Write one sentence. I expected. Then decide if that expectation is a standard, a preference, or a demand. Once you can spot the hidden expectation, the next step is changing the language that turns ordinary responsibilities into burdens. RDH 20. Have to versus get to. The problem. A lot of dads live in have to mode. It sounds normal, even responsible. You have to go to work, you have to deal with the house, you have to sort the kids, you have to keep everything moving. But have to carries a flavour. It turns responsibilities into a sentence. It creates the feeling of being trapped, even when you're doing things you choose and still care about. Over time, that language quietly drains joy. Not because your life is easy and not because you're ungrateful. It drains joy because your brain hears the same message all day. Burden, burden, burden. The tasks might be unavoidable, but the meaning you attach to them isn't. This tool is a one-word switch that pulls some poison out of a normal day without pretending a day is perfect. Analogy. Think of language like the soundtrack playing under your life. If the soundtrack is have to, everything feels heavier, more urgent, more unfair. If you change the soundtrack, you don't change the events, but you change how they land in your body. Have to tightens your jaw. Get to drops your shoulders. It's not fake gratitude, it's simply remembering that some duties are also privileges and that you still have choice in how you carry them. The tool steps. Step 1. Catch one have to. Don't hunt for every example, catch one sentence as it happens. Step 2. Switch it to get to. Say it again with get to. Keep it simple. Step 3. Add one honest because. Make it real, not cheesy. I get to go to work because it provides stability. I get to pick the kids up because I'm in their life. I get to cook because we have food. Step 4. Name the cost without cancelling the meaning. If it's a hard day, say that too. I get to do this and it's heavy today. This keeps the tool honest. Step 5. Match it with one small behaviour. Choose one tiny action that aligns with the meaning. If it's the school run, be present for the first minute. If it's cooking, do it without the running commentary once. If it's work, start the first task with focus for 5 minutes. Step 6. Practice in one lane for a week. Pick one area only, work or kids or home. Use the switch there for 7 days. Repetition is what makes the new language automatic. One short example. You're rushing and already behind, and you hear yourself say, I have to go to work. You catch it and you switch it. I get to go to work because it keeps the lights on and gives my family stability. And today feels heavy. The traffic's still there, the day is still busy, but you feel less trapped. You arrive with a steadier tone because you removed the inner narration that was turning the morning into punishment. What this is not saying. This is not toxic positivity. It's not denying hardship, bills, grief, stress, or pressure. It's not saying you must be grateful for everything all the time, or that you're not allowed to struggle. It's saying that language shapes experience, and you can reduce resentment by choosing meaning on purpose. You can still want things to change, ask for help and set boundaries, but this tool simply stops you adding extra suffering through automatic have to language. The tiny move. Pick one have to you say most days. Rewrite it as get to with one honest because. Use it once today, out loud or in your head. And once you reclaim meaning with get to, the next step is learning one word that helps you hold two truths at once, so your day stops collapsing into a single heavy verdict. RDH 21. One word changed my mood. The problem. When your mood drops, it's rarely because one thing went wrong. It drops because your brain starts narrating the day like it's one big verdict. The tone changes, everything feels heavier, and you start hearing labels instead of details. Behind, trapped, failing, wasting time. A lot of that shift lives inside a word you barely notice. But. I'm trying, but it's not working. I love my kids, but they drive me mad. I want to be better, but I'm exhausted. I know what to do, but I never stick to it. The pattern is simple. But makes the first half of the sentence stop counting. It dismisses effort, progress, and anything good that exists alongside the hard part. And when your mind keeps dismissing the good, resentment grows even on ordinary days. Meaning without denial is not pretending the second half isn't real. The hard part is real. The shift is learning to hold two truths at once without collapsing into a single story. And one word can change that. Analogy. Think of your day like carrying two bags. One bag is reality, what is actually happening. The other bag is meaning, what you're telling yourself it means. When you use but, you drop the reality bag and carry only the heaviest meaning. And lets you carry both truths. The hard part's still real, it just stops you erasing everything else that is also true. It widens the doorway so your day doesn't have to fit inside one feeling. The tool steps. Step 1. Catch the but. When you feel your mood tighten, listen for the sentence in your head. If it contained but, you found the lever. Step 2. Swap but for and. Say the same sentence again with and. It sounds small, but it changes the meaning instantly. It turns conflict into capacity. Step 3. Make it honest. And is not there to sugarcoat. It's there to be accurate. I'm tired and I still want to show up well. This is hard and I can take one step. Step 4. Add the next small action. Meaning becomes useful when it becomes movement. After the and sentence, add one small action you can do now. Not a full plan, one next move. Step 5. Use it in common dad moments. Use it where you usually spiral. At work, it sounds like, I have a lot on and I can do one thing at a time. At home, it sounds like, the house is loud and I can lower my voice. With yourself, it sounds like, I'm not where I want to be and I'm still moving. Step 6. Close the loop at night. Before sleep, write one "and" sentence about the day. It trains your brain to stop judging life in single verdicts. This is how lightness returns without denial. One short example. You get to the evening and you feel the resentment building. You hear the sentence, "I've no time for myself, but I have to keep going." That "but" makes it feel like a prison. You catch it and swap it. "I have no time for myself and I can still take 10 minutes before bed." You don't pretend the day was easy. You don't pretend you're not tired. You just stop erasing your options. Then you take the tiny move. 10 minutes with your phone out of reach, a shower, a stretch, a quiet drink, one refill. You go to bed feeling less trapped, not because life's changed, but because meaning changed. What this is not saying. This is not positive thinking, and it's not pretending the hard part is not there. It does not erase stress, grief, exhaustion, or genuine problems that need action. It doesn't mean that you accept everything and never change anything. It simply stops you turning the day into a single verdict. It helps you hold two truths at once, reality and possibility, so you can respond from steadiness instead of resentment. That is meaning without denial. The tiny move. Today, catch one sentence you said or thought that used "but." Rewrite it using "and." Then add one small action you can take in the next 10 minutes. When you can carry two truths at once, you stop bringing a single heavy verdict into your home. And that's where the next chapter goes. Fatherhood, presence, peace, and priorities. Chapter 9, closing words. This chapter was not about being upbeat, it was about being accurate. If you spotted your expectations, you stopped arguing with reality and stopped carrying silent contracts nobody agreed to. If you switched "have to" into "get to", you kept responsibility but dropped some resentment. If you swapped "but" for "and", you stopped turning a hard day into a single verdict and gave yourself room to move. None of this denied the hard parts. It simply stopped you adding a second layer of suffering through the story you repeat. Meaning is not decoration. Meaning is weight. And when you choose it on purpose, you create more space, more patience, and more lightness, even in the same life. Next, we take the steadier meaning into connection, because the words you live by become the atmosphere your family feels. Chapter 10. Fatherhood, presence, peace, priorities. This is what it's all for. Chapter 9 was about meaning without denial. You learned how expectations create weight, how language can add resentment to an already full day, and how a single word can change what you carry. That mattered because meaning shapes mood, and mood shapes how you show up. This chapter is where the whole book lands back on why. Because you can build routines, shrink wins, manage time, and get calm under pressure and still miss the point if you forget what it's all for. The point is not performance. The point is presence. The point is peace. The point is priorities. Fatherhood is not always fun. Some days you're tired, irritated, overstimulated, and still expected to be steady. You're the one who keeps routines, holds boundaries, pays bills, fixes problems, and stays consistent when you'd rather switch off. That can make you feel like the boring parent, or the strict parent, or the one who's always carrying the weight. But the unseen parts are not wasted. The hard parts are often the parts that build security. Fun makes memories, but steadiness makes safety. The 3 resilient dad hacks in this chapter work like a sequence. First, you'll reset what fatherhood is actually asking of you. Not constant entertainment, not constant perfection, but reliability. A dad who shows up, holds the line, and stays kind even when he's tired. Second, you'll use a simple reframe that makes you more present fast. Today is not one more day, it's one less. That sounds heavy, but it's freeing, because it helps you stop wasting your best energy on things that don't matter next week. Third, you'll stop renting your peace. Too many dads build their calm on external conditions, partner mood, kids behaving, work going smoothly. That's living on a knife edge. Peace has to be something you practice and own so you can lead your home from steadiness, not reactivity. This is the values chapter. Not to add pressure, but to remove noise. So you can remember what you're building, who you're building it for, and how you want it to feel inside your home. RDH 22. Fatherhood is not always fun, but it's worth it. The problem. A lot of dads carry a quiet pressure to be fun. Fun dad, joker dad, always up for it dad. And when you can't be that, when you're tired, stressed, busy, or holding boundaries, you feel like you're failing. You start comparing yourself to the version of you who has more energy, more patience, and more time. But fatherhood is not a constant entertainment job. Some days, you're the one keeping routines, paying bills, doing the early start, holding the line, and saying no when it would be easier to say yes. That can make you the boring parent in the moment, and it can sting because you want your kids to feel joy with you. But here's the shift. Kids do not need you to be fun all the time. They need you to be reliable. Fun makes memories. Reliability makes security. And when security is in the room, fun comes back more easily anyway. Analogy. Think of fatherhood like building a house. Fun is the paint, the pictures on the wall, the weekend treats, the laughs, the playful moments. They matter. They make it feel like home. But reliability is the structure, the foundations, the walls, the roof that holds when the weather turns. Nobody claps for the foundations. Nobody posts photos of the wiring. But without those unseen parts, the house is not safe. When you're doing the unglamorous parts of fatherhood, routines, boundaries, consistency, you're pouring concrete. It doesn't always feel rewarding in the moment, but it's what makes everything else possible. The tool steps. Step 1. Name what your kids actually need from you. Write 3 words. Not what social media says, what your home needs. Steady, kind, present, consistent, safe. Pick your 3. Step 2. Separate fun from worth. Remind yourself that fun is a bonus, not the proof of good fatherhood. The proof is showing up, especially when you're not in the mood. Step 3. Choose your minimum reliability list. Define the small set of things that make your home feel safe. Same bedroom routine, calm voice, clear boundary, dinner together, reading time, whatever fits your family. Step 4. Add micro fun, not performance. Micro fun is 5 minutes of play, a silly voice during teeth brushing, a quick game, a small laugh. Micro fun is light and repeatable, not exhausting. Step 5. Use the boring parent line with confidence. When you need to hold a boundary, use one simple line, calm and final. I know you want it. The answer is still no. Then stay kind. Don't debate. That steadiness is love. Step 6. Repair fast when you get it wrong. If you snap or shut down, don't hide. Repair is leadership. Own it, reset and return. Kids learn how to handle emotions by watching you handle yours. One short example. You come home drained. The kids want your energy immediately. Part of you wants to switch off, and part of you feels guilty because you're not the fun dad right now. You use the tool. You remember your 3 words: steady, kind, present. You run your minimum reliability list first. Dinner, a calm tone, and the normal bedtime routine. Then you add microfun, 5 minutes on the floor even if you're tired. You're not performing, you're building the house. And later, when they smile and relax, you remember the truth. It is worth it. What this is not saying. This is not saying you should be strict, serious, or joyless. It's not saying fun doesn't matter or that you should always be the responsible one while everyone else still enjoys life. It's also not permission to be harsh and call it boundaries. This is about steadiness with warmth. You still play, you still laugh, you just stop using fun as the measure of your worth and you build security through consistency. The tiny move. Write your 3 dad words and pick one minimum reliability habit you'll protect this week. Then add one micro fun moment today that takes 5 minutes. When you remember what fatherhood is worth, you start treating time differently. And that leads to one reframe that changes presence fast. RDH 23. One less day. The problem. Most dads live like they have endless tomorrows. Not because they're careless, but because life is loud and repetitive. Work, meals, school runs, chores, screens, sleep, repeat. Days blur, and you can drift through them without noticing what you're spending. Then one day you look up and realise that time has moved anywhere. This tool isn't meant to scare you. It's meant to wake you up gently. Today is not one more day. It's one less. One less chance to be fully here. That sounds dark, but it's freeing because it cuts through the noise. It helps you stop wasting your best energy on stuff that will not matter next week. It pulls you back toward the moments that will matter for years. Analogy. Think about your kids' school year. Most days look the same. Then suddenly, it's the last day, and you didn't see it coming. Nothing dramatic happened. Time just did what time does. One less day is the same idea. It turns a normal day into a conscious day, not a pressured day, a chosen day. The tool steps. Step 1. Start with the one less sentence. Say it once in your head in the morning. Today is one less. Let it land and move on. Step 2. Choose the moment that matters most today. Not a whole day plan, one moment. Dinner, school pickup, bedtime, a walk, 10 minutes of play. Choose the moment you do not want to miss. Step 3. Remove one distraction from that moment. Pick one. Phone away. No multitasking, no rushing, no scrolling, no background noise. One removal creates space. Step 4. Arrive before you act. Give yourself 10 seconds before the moment. A breath, a shoulder drop, a quiet cue. Be here. Step 5. Do the small thing now, not later. The hug now. The listen now. The play now. The apology now. The message now. Don't delay the important because you're busy with the urgent. Step 6. End the day with a single tick. At night, name one thing you did that matched your priorities. One line in your phone. Proof matters. It builds identity. One short example. You're about to walk into the house after work and you're already thinking about emails, bills and chores. You remember one less day. You choose the moment, the first 10 minutes with the kids. You remove one distraction, phone stays in your pocket. And you arrive before you act, one breath at the door. You do the small thing now. You listen properly to the first story they tell you, even if you're tired. Nothing else changed, the house is still busy, the day's still full, but you spent 10 minutes on what matters. And that is the point. What this is not saying. This is not a guilt trip, and it's not saying you must turn every day into a magical memory. It's not telling you to panic about time or live in fear. It's a reframe for presence. You still work, you still handle responsibility, You just stop sleepwalking through the moments that shape your family. One less is not pressure. It's permission to choose what matters today in a way that fits real life. The tiny move. Pick one moment today that you'll protect and decide the one distraction you'll remove from it. Presence is easier when you're steady inside, and that requires a kind of peace that does not depend on everyone else behaving perfectly. RDH 24. Dads, stop renting your peace. The problem. There's a moment that changes a dad. It's when you realise your peace cannot depend on everyone else being okay. A lot of us build identity on being needed, provider, fixer, problem solver. It looks strong, but it quietly drains you. Because when your peace depends on your partner's mood, your kids behaving or work going smoothly, you live on a knife edge. The day is calm only if everyone else cooperates. And that is not a plan. That is a gamble. This is where values become practical. Your family doesn't need a perfect dad. They need a stable one. Stability is not control. It's steadiness. It's being the same man in a loud house as you are in a quiet house. Analogy. Renting your peace is like renting a house with a landlord who can change the rules at any moment. If the landlord is in a good mood, you relax. If the landlord is stressed, you tense up. You never fully settle because the stability is not yours. Owning your peace is different. You still feel weather, you still have hard days, but the foundations are yours. The noise outside does not decide whether you're steady inside. You become harder to shake, not because life is gentle, but because your base is built. The tool steps. Step 1. Notice where your peace is rented. Ask yourself, what has happened for me to feel okay today? If the answer is everyone must be calm, work must go well, the kids must behave, you've found the rental agreement. Step 2. Name your peace anchors. Choose 2 anchors that are within your control. A short walk, a gym session, a journal page, prayer, reading, a cold shower, 10 quiet minutes, breath work, sleep routine. Simple anchors repeated. Step 3. Protect the anchors like appointments. Don't wait for free time, put them in the day. If you cannot do the full version, do the minimum version. Step 4. Separate mood from mission. You can care about how others feel without letting it dictate who you are. Their mood is information, not instruction. Your mission is to stay kind and steady. Step 5. Use one boundary sentence. When you feel pulled into chaos, use one sentence that keeps you regulated. I am here and I am staying calm. I will talk when we can both speak calmly. I need 5 minutes and then I'm back. Short, clear, no debate. Step 6. Make one deposit every day. Peace is built by deposits, not declarations. A deposit is a small act of self-care, discipline, or meaning that makes you more solid. Over time, you become unshakable, and that helps everyone around you. One short example. Work has been heavy. You walk into a tense house. The kids are arguing and your partner's stressed. Old you would have absorbed it all and either snapped or shut down because your peace depended on the room being calm. You use the tool. You anchor first. 2 minutes of breathing in the car. You separate mood from mission. Their stress is real and you can stay steady. You use one boundary sentence. I am resetting for 5 minutes, then I'm back. You come in calmer, speak slower, and choose one small helpful action. The house doesn't magically become quiet, but you stop adding fuel. That is leadership. What this is not saying. This is not telling you to become selfish, detached, or emotionally cold. It's not saying you should ignore your partner, dismiss your kids, or stop caring. It's also not blaming you for feeling stressed. This is about stability. You build a base so your peace is not held hostage by other people's moods or by a hard week. A steadier you helps your family more than a reactive you every time. The tiny move. Choose one peace deposit you'll do daily for the next 7 days. Make it small enough to be non-negotiable even on messy days. With values clear and peace more stable, the next chapter turns priorities into simple daily choices you can repeat. Chapter 10, Closing Words. This chapter was the return to why. You reminded yourself that fatherhood is not always fun, and that does not make it a failure, it makes it real. You used one less day to protect the moments that matter before they slip past unnoticed. And you stopped renting your peace by building anchors that keep you steady when life around you isn't. None of this required a perfect week. It required a clearer aim. Presence over performance. Peace over reactivity. Priorities over noise. When you live from values, the pressure does not disappear, but it starts to make sense. You're not doing this to win at productivity. You're doing this to build a home that feels safe and a life you do not need to escape from. Bonus chapter, Legacy. This book was never about optimization. It was about the echo. I wanted this to be the last chapter because a book like this can accidentally end with the wrong message. It can end with the idea that the goal is to be calmer, more organised, more disciplined, more productive, more in control. And those things matter. They're often the difference between a dad who keeps drifting and a dad who starts building something steadier. But they are not the reason. They are the root. The reason is what happens in your home when you're steadier, what your children learn to expect from a man under pressure, and the atmosphere your presence creates even on days you feel like you've nothing left. This is why legacy belongs at the end. Not because it adds pressure, but because it adds meaning. It explains why the tiny moves in this book are not just personal development, they are family development. They're not just about mood, they're about the baseline you are teaching. This book began as a note left on the kitchen table, a simple thing in an ordinary place meant for ordinary moments. It was never meant to be a performance or a promise that you'll become a different man overnight. It was meant to be something you can reach for in middle of real life, when the house is loud, when work's stranger, when you feel overloaded and one more demand might tip you into snapping or shutting down. If you've used it in that way, even once, then you've already proved the point of this chapter. Because legacy is not a big speech. Legacy is what repeats. Your fatherhood echoes further than you think. Most dads underestimate their impact because fatherhood can feel like the least visible job you do. You can put in a day of effort and still feel like nothing changed. You can hold it together through chaos and still feel like it didn't count because nobody gave you credit. You can get the kids fed, washed, settled, listened to and loved, and still go to bed thinking you didn't do enough. But the effect of fatherhood is not always visible in the moment. It lives in what your kids learn is normal. Children are not just watching what you do. They're learning what a man looks like under pressure and they're filing it away as the baseline. They're learning what love sounds like when the day has been hard. They're learning how conflict is handled. They're learning what happens after mistakes. They're learning whether strong emotions are dangerous, shameful, mocked, ignored, repaired, or held with calm. And because they're children, they don't analyse it. They absorb it. Your choices as a father do not stop with your kids. They echo through them and then out through the people they become. One day they take your baseline into their friendships, their work, their relationships, and if they choose, into families of their own. That's not a romantic idea. That's how humans work. We inherit patterns long before we inherit opinions. Sometimes I picture it like a line of fathers stretching back and forward, far beyond what I can name. You're standing in that line with a past behind you and a future in front of you. You didn't start the story, but you're writing the next lines of it. The way you handle stress, the way you speak to the mum, the way you apologise when you get it wrong, the way you talk to yourself when you fail. Those things become normal in the home. And what becomes normal gets repeated. This isn't meant to scare you, it's meant to wake you up gently. Because once you understand the echo, the tiny moves stop feeling tiny. They become votes. Votes for the kind of home you're building. Votes for the kind of man your children learn is possible. The most important job you will ever do. A lot of men treat fatherhood like something they squeeze in around real life. Work becomes the main story. Responsibilities become the main story. Keeping the lights on becomes the main story. Fatherhood becomes the thing you do in the gaps. But to your kids, you're not a title. You're a presence. They will not remember your income the way you think they will. They will not remember your job title the way you think they will. They will remember how it felt to be around you. Did they feel safe or on edge? Did they feel seen or invisible? Did they feel loved or managed like a project? Did they feel that home was steady even when life was not? That is your legacy in their world. It's the imprint you leave in the nervous system of a human being who will carry it for life. I know that sentence can feel like pressure. It's not meant as pressure, it's meant as clarity. Because clarity is one of the kindest things you can give yourself. It stops you wasting your best energy on things that don't matter in 10 years, and it helps you spend more of your best energy on the things that will. You live forever, just not in the way you think. Most men chase legacy through money, status, trophies, or being remembered. That makes sense in a world that measures men by what can be counted. But the real legacy lives in what your kids learn to treat as normal. You live on in the way they react when things go wrong. You live on in the way they handle anger. You live on in the way they speak to themselves when they fail. You live on in the way they repair after conflict or avoid it or escalate it. One day you'll hear your own words come out of their mouths. Sometimes it'll be beautiful. Sometimes it will stop you in your tracks. But either way it will prove the same thing. You were teaching even when you didn't mean to teach. That is why the premise of this book matters so much. The premise was never that you're broken, it was that you are overloaded. And when men are overloaded, they do not always become cruel. Often they become rushed, distracted, reactive, tight, and then ashamed. The shame makes them withdraw. The withdrawal makes them feel disconnected. The disconnection makes them feel like failures, and so the cycle repeats. The tools in this book were built to interrupt that cycle. Not by asking you to become perfect, but by helping you return sooner, repair faster, and build steadiness through repetition. When you learned to aim your focus, you were not doing mindset tricks. You were reducing the mental drift that makes you miss what is right in front of you. When you learned to protect your time, you were not becoming a productivity robot, you were creating space for moments that build connection. When you built routines, you stopped relying on mood, and your home gained something children crave even when they can't name it: predictability. When you chose the long game, you trained yourself to tolerate discomfort without needing a quick escape. When you learn to come back after setbacks, you practice the most important family skill there is: repair. A home where repair happens is a home where people feel safe to be human. Then, meaning without denial, stepped in and did something quiet but powerful. It helped you stop adding a second layer of suffering through the story you repeat. Resentment has a sound, even when you never say it out loud. So does steadiness, so does warmth, so does safety. Changing the inner story changes the atmosphere you bring into the room. Chapter 10 brought it back to values, because values are the why beneath every tool. If you forget the why, you drift. If you remember the why, you return. Legacy is the thread running through all of it. and this chapter simply names it. You are rewriting a family story. Whether you like it or not, you inherited patterns. Some will be good, some will be painful, some will be subtle. A certain tone under stress, a certain distance when emotions get intense, a certain habit of swallowing things until they leak out sideways, a certain belief about what men are allowed to feel, a certain way of handling conflict, a certain way of apologising or not apologising. You didn't choose what you inherited, but you do get a say in what you pass on. Rewriting a family story does not happen in one heroic moment. It happens in repetition. It happens when your home slowly becomes a place where people can say sorry without collapsing into shame, where boundaries exist without cruelty, where feelings aren't mocked, where pressure doesn't automatically turn into anger, and where love is not something you have to earn by being easy. That is what it means to build a new normal. A pattern does not end because you wrote it down once. It ends because you interrupt it consistently. And a new normal does not arrive because you had a good week. It arrives because you practice it until it becomes familiar. This is why the tiny moves matter. A calm apology, a hug you initiate, 2 minutes of phone down attention, one sentence of reassurance when your child looks unsure, one boundary held with warmth instead of raised volume. These are not small in the world your kids live in. They're the building blocks of what they'll learn to expect from love. When you've lost sight of why you matter. Some dads read a chapter like this and feel inspired. Some dads feel something heavier, regret, distance. The memory of times you were not present, times you were sharp, times you disappeared into work, into your phone, into silence. Times you told yourself you would do better tomorrow, and then tomorrow came and you were tired again. Midlife can make men feel invisible, replaceable, pointless. You look at the gap between who you are and who you want to be, and you conclude the story is already set. You think they would be better off without me. That's not truth, that is pain talking. Your value is not cancelled by your worst moments. Your value is in your willingness to return. Your present shifts the whole story, especially when you show up after a mistake rather than hiding behind it. There's also something else here, something that took me a long time to see. There's a younger version of you inside your child, watching everything you do. When you choose to stay, when you choose to try again, when you choose to grow instead of give up, you're not helping your kids. You're healing the boy you used to be. The one who needed somebody steady, the one who needed someone to repair instead of pretending nothing happened. If you're genuinely feeling that they would be better off without you, please talk to somebody today. In the UK, you can call Samaritans free on 116 123. You can also contact Shout by texting SHOUT to 85258 for free, confidential support. If you need urgent mental health support, you can call the NHS on 111 and ask for urgent mental health support. If you or someone else is in immediate danger, please call 999. The smallest legacy plan that actually works. You do not need a grand legacy plan. You do not need a reinvention. You need 2 decisions that are small enough to live inside a normal week. Pick one pattern you are ending. Make it specific, not I will be better, but something you can notice. The pattern might be how you speak when you're stressed. It might be how you withdraw when you feel overwhelmed. It might be how you bring work tone into home tone. It might be how quickly you jump into fixer mode instead of connection. It might be how often you disappear into your phone because it feels like relief. Then pick one new normal you're building. Again, specific. Something that creates safety. A minute of true attention when you walk through the door. One question at bedtime that you listen to all the way through. A repair rule that you follow the same day you get it wrong. One boundary sentence you use instead of repeating yourself until you snap. Then do the smallest proof of it today. Not because it's impressive, because it's a deposit. Over time, deposits become identity. Identity becomes atmosphere, atmosphere becomes childhood, and childhood becomes baseline. And one day, years from now, your children will carry that baseline forward. They will hear your voice in their own head. They will borrow your tone when life gets loud. They will borrow your habits around conflict, stress, and self-respect. They'll carry sentences you repeated so often you forgot you were teaching them. So choose what you want to echo. The introduction said this book is a note left on the kitchen table. It still is. Not a note that says do more, not a note that says be perfect, not a note that says never struggle, a note that says you are not broken, you're overloaded, and you can build steadiness anywhere. You can return sooner, you can repair faster, you can choose meaning without denial, you can protect what matters, you can stop renting your peace, and you can become the kind of dad your kids can breathe around. That is legacy. And remember, ordinary dads can have extraordinary dreams. Stay connected. Where to find me and further support. If this felt like a note left on the kitchen table, here is how to reply. If this book helped, I would genuinely like to hear from you. This is the first time I've ever written a book, and I built it the same way I'm asking you to build, one small, honest step at a time. Not polished praise, not polite encouragement, real feedback. Tell me what landed, what didn't, and what you wish someone had written for you 5 years ago. Your messages shape what this becomes next. Future updates, future tools, and whatever I build after this. Check out the description for contact and links.